FNCS in 2025 is here, and with it comes a switch from duos to trios for competitive play. Let's take a look at a few teams that you need to be on the lookout for in both EU and NA Central. The first team, and the team that's certainly been first in a lot of events this season, is Veno, Vico, and Flixi. Since coming together in duos for Major 3 last year, Vico and Flixi have performed exceptionally well, winning that major and placing 4th at Globals. Now with the addition of one of EU's finest players in Veno, this trio have been unstoppable, with 2 first-place finishes in weekly finals this season and not placing outside of 4th. With this terrific trio now situated at one of the best drop spots on the map, Flooded Frogs, and with them being the most consistent team in Europe, it's easy to see why they're the favourites to win it all this season. FNCS veterans Tayson and Trulex have tried out a couple of options for trio mates this season, however have eventually settled on Trulex's good friend, Chicho. Since coming together, this trio from the Balkans have placed 6th and 5th in weekly finals and look very strong, as their drop spot of Foxy Floodgate give them perfect access to the center of the map, allowing this team to base up for Storm Surge tags, like we know Trulex's teams have always loved to do. Widely regarded as the GOAT of Fortnite, Tayson will be looking to rekindle some of that success that he had in trios previously, as the back end of the duos era won't be one that he'll be looking back on too fondly. But you can never count out a player of his caliber, and with the way that this trio are playing and the experience of all 3, they have to be considered one of the finest in the region this season. The iconic invitational winners Cami and Seti have picked up fellow Polish player Chari for this season. Although Chari hasn't had the same success as Cami and Seti over the years, he's been consistently making grand finals, most notably with Giras, so it's clear to see why he's joined the team. This season has been incredibly solid for the trio, with 3 top 3 finishes in weekly finals, including 1 first place. The main competition for them so far has been the French trio of Akira, X-Squeeze, and Podesai, fighting off spawn at Lost Lake. While currently it seems like the Polish boys have been dominating pretty much entirely, historically, Cami and Seti haven't performed as well whenever they're contested in grand finals. Let's see if the shift in game mode and the addition of Chari is the key to changing that going into the first major of 2025. Now let's hop across the pond to NA, and one player that's quite literally done just that is Vidil, now playing with Cooper and Sphinx. At the beginning of the season, Vidil struggled to find a team, so decided to go to NA to find more success. Although Cooper and Sphinx have had some solid performances with Noxy, they also decided to switch it up. This decision seems to have paid dividends so far, as since coming together they placed 2nd, 5th, and 2nd again in the weekly finals. And the synergy between Cooper and Vidil when it comes to fragging has been excellent to watch so far. As for Sphinx, although he's had less overall success than Vidil and Cooper, he is proving to be an excellent IGL and helping to keep this team on track for success. Look out for these guys at Masked Meadows this season. After the most dominant year in competitive Fortnite history with Poyo, Peter Bot is back and picking up exactly where he left off with new teammates Cold and Ritual. Since getting together this season, they've won every single weekly final, more often than not with a 100-point margin, and are widely regarded as the best team in NA at the moment. The way that they're doing this is similar to how Peterbot operated before, landing at the best drop spot on the map and dominating from there on out, with high eliminations propelling them through the match. Currently, much like Veno's trio, they feel that Flooded Frogs is the best drop spot, with its incredible loot, materials, and early surge opportunities. However, with this team still winning earlier weeks, landing at brutal boxcars, it shows that this team have the skill, experience, and versatility to take it all home. Finally, onto what is likely to be a fan favorite team this season, Clix, Batman Booga, and Iomzo. This is a team that'll have a lot of eyes on them to perform, as Clix always does, and he in particular will be looking to break that 4th place curse, take home his first FNCS title, and fulfill his potential. Batman Booga will be looking to pick up where he left off in duos after a breakthrough year with Rapid, and Iomzo will be looking to bring the firepower that we know he can, but hadn't quite seen to the fullest during Chapter 5. As for performances so far, it's looking good for this trio, as since coming together for Week 5, they managed a 2nd place in Opens and a 5th in the weekly finals. This, combined with their solid drop spot of Lost Lake, make this trio an exciting prospect, and one that fans will be watching closely. Let's hope they can bring the heat in grand finals. With so many teams to look out for, it's impossible for us to fit them all into one video. So let us know down below which teams you're excited about going into this season's FNCS. And we'll see you very soon for the start of Major 1.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the FNCS. Here we are, 2025. We are so back, baby. It is great to see all of you. There's a couple of new things happening in 2025. There's a new format. We're going to trios, but one thing that always stays the same is our analysts. Let's give them a big warm welcome. It's Kelly, it's Vivid. Friends, welcome back to the show. 2025 looking real good for us.
I cannot believe it has been 5 months since the Global Championships, 5 months since we have had an FNCS broadcast. I have missed everyone, all the viewers. I hope that you guys are excited to get into some NA action.
Yeah, all of us over here, right, had to dust the old cobwebs off the cameras here, get back into the action of things. And listen, speaking about action, so much of it has already happened. That switch to trios really just caused so much commotion amongst the scene, like who's going to be partnering up with who. I mean, heck, we even had some switch ups just a couple of weeks ago, but now FNCS has started. It's time to get serious. So excited.
Man, we'll talk about all of that and more as we prepare to jump into game number 1. For now, let's start things off with that new format. What is different? Well, as you guys have seen and followed in the last few years, we've had the series point leaderboard, right? You kind of been playing for cumulative points, and that's kind of seeded you into different settings and standings and playoffs and stuff like that. The difference here is we actually had a play in stage, and when we had that kind of going on, that actually seeded some of these trios into different heats, Kelly.
That's right. The top 99 teams have moved on from the play-ons into 3 different groups. We're going to be watching 33 incredible trios today. And in case your favorite team isn't here competing this weekend, chat, and you're wondering, well, where are they? Well, next weekend we have group 2 and 3, so keep your eyes open for that. But from these 33 trios, if you get a win, that's an automatic ticket into the major finals. Also, if you get top 5 consistency, that'll get you there as well.
Yeah, so we're going to have 30 teams actually going into the finals from these group stages, which leaves us with 3 more slots available, which if you saw in that graphic right there, it leaves room for the last chance qualifier where 3 teams will go through. And listen, that last chance, it's always very, very spicy. I mean, just over on EU, we had some big name teams not make it out of their group, so we'll have to be seeing them over there. Let's hope for some of these bigger name teams on NA, it's a little bit different.
We hope. Now, not only are we seeing some new things, there's also a new chapter. Chapter 6, Hunters, is upon us. I love this kind of aesthetic. Everything about the map, the weapons, everything is so unbelievable. So obviously there's a ton of new POIs, but maybe you guys could highlight just a couple for us to kind of get us in tune with what we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, let's take a quick look over a Night Shift Forest over there, highlighting some interesting trios that we actually have. Nick, Lix, and Eddie, kind of an unknown trio, is going to be landing over here, contested by a more notable team, 20, Larson, and Walkers. But I'm really excited for Eddie's trio here. They only have 1 FNCS Finals performance between the 3 of them.
Nice shift for us. Very, very good. All of those elemental chests over there. Switching gears over to the east side of the map towards Demon's Dojo. Of course, going to be featuring that boss fight with Night Rose, who of course is going to be dropping that Night Rose medallion. And that's something that players definitely want to get their hands on, or at least you would think so if you look at the drop map today, because there's going to be 3 teams landing over at this POI today.
And then, of course, a very popular POI, Flooded Frogs, is going to be landed there by Shadow, Tyler, and Curve. Fortunately for them, Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual not going to be in this group, so they no longer have claim over that POI. So really interested to see what they're going to be doing there.
Yeah, that little secret spot, right? Requiring the Void Unimask to be able to get into. I'm excited to see people fight over this POI. Let's talk about the Rift Island. So it's kind of the same in that there is a Rift Island, but it's different in that now there's Shogun X up there guarding the whole space with a brand new medallion.
Yeah, that's right. Like you said, the Shogun's Arena, very similar to the Rift Island in the fact that it can give you loot, it can give you much needed break, as well as vision and rotation opportunities. But Shogun X is the big guy here, and he drops that incredible Shogun X medallion, also called the Wanderer's Medallion, which gives you infinite stamina and, more importantly, cloaking while sprinting. And one of my favorite uses I have seen with this medallion during the play-in was definitely from Bryce's solo clutch. We see Ree, Bert, and Bryce were able to grab the high ground, but get chopped out of height, and Ree was actually the one holding the medallion. Bryce is able to see the person that stole it away, gets the elimination, and then gets the medallion, and then instead of going down in like 11th place, he's able to sneakily make his way through the low ground, get a few eliminations, and then go down in 4th place instead. And as we know, with consistency being important, being able to just make it a few more placements can really make or break your team.
Oh yeah, it can definitely always be the difference maker. But listen, that island fighting Shogun X, it seems like you're just up there forever fighting the boss. Like, everybody's obviously going to notice you're up there fighting, but I think the time invested into going ahead and claiming that medallion is definitely worth it.
Absolutely, man. Infinite stamina. We're like this. We super tight. One final thing to discuss are the brand new boons in the game. They're kind of like these little buffs you can kind of pick up as you're navigating opening elemental chests. But there's one in particular you guys wanted to highlight.
Oh yeah, I would not say that the Void Boon is a little buff. It is a very big buff, especially in the hands of someone like Clix, Batman Booga, and Iamzo, who go incredibly aggressive in their game. And with them landing over in Lost Lake, they're actually able to grab 2 Void Boons there, one through the Elemental Chest, another through the mini-boss, and it really just supports their aggressive playstyle. Whether that's them chasing down players in the early and mid-game, or especially in the end game, where they kind of like to stay in the low ground, kind of navigating all the chaos there, and they're just able to grab elim after elim.
Being a an old retired professional Fortnite player, this mechanic with the Void Boon kind of reminds me of the shakedown mechanic that we had years ago, right? You would knock a player, you would go over to them, you would shake it down, you could kind of find out where their teammates are at. But this Void Boon, that effect kind of happens instantly, and it definitely plays into that momentum-based playstyle very, very well, which is why we see some of those aggressive teams work so well with it.
Do you guys think that any other boons are kind of worth it, right? So obviously this Void Boon, quite powerful. Like you said, it's kind of a shakedown. So any of these other things worth kind of noting right now?
I think the Water Boon can definitely be, especially depending on where the zone pulls, can be incredibly beneficial to some teams that need more heals.
Definitely couldn't agree more. I mean, I've seen several strategies when it comes down to Storm Surge, right? You pick up that Water Boon, you can kind of just go trade tags, right? And just sit in the water and kind of regain some of that damage that you're taking.
Okay, we'll have to keep our eyes out on some of these boons throughout the game. But first, let's give a big welcome to your casters, Jacob PR, Monster D-Face.
Thank you, Zeke. That's right. We are going to be calling the action. Group 1 here for the major. I mean, I couldn't be more excited, Jacob, to be casting with you. It's going to be a ball of a time right now, especially since we got clicks up on the menu.
Yeah, trios wasn't the only thing being shaken up through the offseason. The teams had some late changes as well. Clicks, we're talking about and we're raving about how good they've been. That's not the team that they first had. Iamzo, Batman Booga, they went through Mason, they went through Virgo. Clicks was free and then they swapped on over to him. There were so many teams making these late changes that they're hoping they can succeed from it.
Usual NA fashion, giving us a good shakeup, and now we get to watch how it's all going to play out here for Group 1. I would say this is going to be a roller coaster of the next several weeks, especially as you start gearing up for the future. But for now, we are going to have to focus in on what is at play here. This lobby list is very interesting, of course, as there are multiple teams fighting for some of the stronger drops, like we highlighted a little bit there, Jacob, and I can't wait to see how it all goes down.
Yeah, like our analysts were already alluding to, EU already showed it doesn't matter how big of a name you are not safe today. But there's still plenty of action to break down. Zeke, analyst, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jacob PR. Fantastic to have you. I love that Frankie kind of called out the EU was the better region. We all know which one the better one is. Welcome to it, Jacob PR. Let's kind of talk about a few more things as we prepare for game number 1. Specifically, the kind of look of duos versus trios, right? On paper, at face value, you hear trios, you're like, okay, it's like an extra person, right? Like, we're going to see more of what we're seeing. That's actually not the case. There's so much nuance that goes into just adding even a single person to the mix.
Exactly. There's a couple of topics that people like to hone in on when they're like, oh, wow, listen, now we're playing trios. So communication with an extra person being there is definitely going to be a little bit different, right? You have the extra inventory spots on every single team now, 5 more mats. But one thing I don't see a lot of people talk about is kind of the space, right? A space that an entire team can actually control now with that extra person. And this kind of goes through the stages of early, mid, and late game. But first, I want to take a look at mid game and kind of how it looks there. Of course, the time of the game and one of the most important Fortnite competitive mechanics actually happens, Storm Surge. This is the time in the game where a lot of teams go ahead, they try to get their tags in, and with trios now, the teams can be a lot more spread out, right? They can actually claim a lot more space together. If we take a look at some of these arrows, some of these teams, look at how much space they are actually able to go ahead and hold on to real estate wise right here. Usually in duos, we would see, 2 towers posted up. You're a duo, of course. Now in trios, we can kind of see like 3 towers be posted up on 3 separate hills. And you just have so much control over all of that land now. That space, especially in the middle game, is very, very easy to control.
Yeah, I mean, this might seem obvious, but with it going from duos to trios, we're now going from 50 teams to 33 teams. And with there being even more POIs in this chapter, there's actually, like you said, more opportunity for people to kind of gather more area and space around them, have a bigger territory when they do claim their POIs.
Yeah, exactly. And like I mentioned, this is kind of an idea that happens throughout all stages of the game. And, you know, of course, where all of the magic happens in Fortnite, in the end game, it's also going to be playing a huge part there. I wanted to kind of talk about space and how comfortable trios can kind of feel in the end game now. Of course, very, very small zones that put a lot of these players together. So how much space do you actually really need to feel confident in trios? Let's go ahead and take a look at Clix, Batman, Booga, and Iamzo, an example from them. As you can see right there, they went ahead, they landed front side of zone, and they put themselves just one box away from another team. Now you might be thinking, wow, in duos, like I'm in metal, I might be pretty safe right now. But no, in trios, you have that little extra bit of firepower because you have that extra man on the team. If we take a look at how they go ahead and approach this, Clix is going to prepare the pre-edits, which are of course very, very strong. 3 people shooting a metal wall like it's absolutely nothing, catching a team off guard. 1 box away is not enough space to feel confident in trios. That's how crazy some of these competitions are going to get.
And speaking of crazy, Vivid, you brought it up just at the start there, saying that comms obviously having an additional person. Viewers, if you have not been able to watch the comms of Clix's trio while they're in, not even in-game, just the entire game, please do yourself a favor. It is, and I say this in the most positive way possible, one of the most nauseating experiences I have ever had. I do not understand how so many people, plus their coach BloodX, can be speaking at the same time, and yet somehow they are still on the same page and able to execute time and time again.
Well, as I heard here, you guys got to check that out for sure. Thank you for that, Kelly. We like that. Yeah, so as you can see, there's so much more that goes into just adding that extra person. I like to kind of think about it, you know, in the past, going from duos, if your duo mate goes down, it's just you 1v2. But now when that player goes down, it's still a 2v3. You can still make things happen. And when you kind of tie that back to Vivid kind of talking about this space, it's not over, right?
Yeah, no, definitely not over at all. And, you know, listen, more on the topic of space, right? We got that extra person on a team now, which means that every single team is going to need more loot. So I want to go ahead and take a look at kind of some of the numbers. How do the contested drop spots of trios kind of compare to duos of last season? So I went ahead and took a look at group number 1 and how many teams are actually going to be contested throughout the games that we actually watched today. And if we go ahead and take a look at what the map actually looks like, see where all the teams are going to be contested. If you add up all of those numbers, it's going to be a total of 16 teams being contested, which 16 times 3, because there's 3 players on each team, that's going to be 48 players total feeling the effects of being contested. And I was like, well, how does that kind of compare to duos, right? These trios need more loot. Like maybe there's going to be a difference in how many players are actually contested. And no, I went ahead and take a look at Chapter 5, Season 3 NAC Grand Finals last year. And it was actually the same amount of players, 48 players were contested last season as well in a completely different game mode. So we're kind of going to be seeing the same kind of effects and fights in the early game.
And something that we'll also be seeing again is that because once a team does win, they are no longer going to be playing in this group stage. Some of those contested teams might try and take up a POI from a team that just won.
We saw a little bit of that in EU, right? The moment that a trio becomes uncontested or a spot suddenly goes from 3 trios to now down to 2, that becomes a target, right? Like, hey, someone's out. Maybe we can look to kind of apply that and get a victory out through that, because again, we either need a victory out or we need to come top 5 through consistency. What are you guys hoping to see coming into today?
Ooh, I hope that we don't see Clix's trio get the first victory royale so that we can see them play more than just one game, because I don't want to wait another 2 weeks to watch them play in the FNCS, but I might be asking for too much.
I guess this is the part where we kind of, you know, lean on old memes, right? Maybe they'll win the 4th game for us, huh? 4th?
Oh, no.
Wow. Wowie, 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 wow. Well, we'll see what happens, because it is that time. All right. The first game of the day is ready for us. We'll have 5 today. And once again, big reminder, Victory Royale or top 5 at the end of these 5 matches will auto-qualify a trio straight through to the Major 1 finals. With that being said, it's game time. Find your seats on the bus. Casters.
Thank you so much. And what a long road it has been just to get here, from the FNCS trials to the divisional cups, the play-in stages, to now we are at the Group 1. Golden opportunity for any one of these teams.
That's right. And again, we're going from duo seasons into trios. So forget all that you've watched go down within the divisional cups and those weekends. It's all different now. Rosters have changed leading into the weeks. We have trios that have seemed to solidify themselves now. And for game 1, you want to be that first one. Of course, send yourself to the final. So we'll see here shortly, Jacob. And we know there's even going to be action off the drop because, I mean, it's Fortnite, right? Look at these drop spots that are going to be highly contested here shortly.
Yeah, almost half of the lobby is going to be contested throughout today's competition. But as Kelly says, when one team is winning, another spot opens up, and we've already seen a lot of shuffles in EU's competition. So I expect to see that same thing here today. Depending on if it's an experienced team or non-experienced team, I can really see things working out. But enough with the guesses. Game 1 is ready. Let's get right into it. This is it. A great opportunity for 33 teams. Some of these teams here today don't have even a singular grand finals appearances, so they can make their own history here today. They can start to build their own dynasty within themselves as an individual and a trio.
And one thing to think about this season in general, when you take a bird's eye view at the loadouts, the type of, battles we're going to see playing out, this is one of the most balanced and one of the most exciting seasons we have seen in quite some time. This chapter is almost perfect for the type of action we like to see. And with that Sentinel shotgun coming into play here, I'm looking forward to seeing how things are going to go down when it matters most. But first, let's jump into the actual action. Some of these areas and teams that we knew were going to be highly contested here already. It looks like Lix, Eddie, and Nick here are setting themselves up for the win and have actually pushed the team out and secure the slurp truck first.
Yeah, you can see a lot of switch-ups already. We've only seen 2 drops already. From what we've already seen through the drop maps, a lot of the preparation, the predictions even, things have already been switched up. Nerves are even getting to people, or we're already seeing the tricks from underneath players' sleeves. Maybe they're saying, I'm going to drop here, but only as a plan to psych out their opponents.
Well, here at the Mass Metals, we do know there are 3 teams here. And just like that, I mean, things are going pretty fast. Take a look at from the other side, Jack, Cease and Blake. Cease being knocked right now. Jack, of course, stepping up. What it matters most, probably making this look nice and easy here shortly. All of a sudden now, they find themselves in the lead.
He's slowly but surely becoming a little bit of a household name. Only one FNCS final appearance, playing with experts with Blake and Cease, who I feel like are like a main staple when it comes to a finals. He's going to win that 1v1, and it was a crucial one because you see both Cease and Blake were down. Now he's going to be hailed as the hero of the early game.
Yeah, that was pretty close, actually. They had the 2-1 advantage there, and things nearly go the other way. Here's a team that I have high hopes for. Aiden, Hound, and Higher. Okay, so Aiden and Hound have been playing with each other for a long time. This is a team that has a lot of synergy here, but they're at the Demon's Dojo, right? We all know this is probably going to be the most, if not the most, sought-after draw spot on NA, next to Flooded Frogs, but Flooded Frogs will likely, be claimed in its own right. We'll see here in the weeks to come, but for now, we expect a lot of action here.
Yeah, depending on the loot, this could be a little bit of a mismatch because you got to take note. Hound, Aiden, High, they actually landed at Demon's Dojo. They got the majority of that loot, but Beast Champo and his teammate were landing on the outskirts. They took the mountains. Now the elevation is working against them. You see the pressure coming down. Shields being ripped off Beast, and he's still using the HP for the medkits to make sure he's in the tip-top shape because they have no more big pots. They cannot get to 200 HP and shields.
A bit more of a fight here. Encrypted, Death and Sales seem to be taking the lead here in the first exchanges for themselves. Very, very critical moment right now to find this damage, get these points here to start things off, and all of a sudden we're watching our early leaders start to take away. This is at the Kappa Kappa factory. Again, another drop that we do expect to have heavy contestation throughout this day here. Back on over to Diminish and Company's not looking good here as he's down. It's up to Braids here to clutch up. Seems like they've traded on both sides.
Yeah, and this is a dangerous team right here because even when we've seen them in duos, I know it's a little bit of different format, but Visual and Braids, they're one of those teams that can surprise. They can shock the world. They can win a game, and it looks like they're taking it to this other team. That's Colazo, the OG on the other side. He's dealing with a lot of pressure, and now they're taking the multiple angles, and that is just one too much to overcome.
A big fan of Braids here. Like how they play this out. Very smart, taking good angles here. and all of a sudden they took what was a 2v2 and made it look as if they were just solos on the other side of the barrel. Very well played as our early leaders are starting to run down the stretch here. Batman, Bugha, Iamzo, and Clix have a nice even spread, but Batman Bugha, no fear in his heart as he is standing toe-to-toe in the low ground. This team's watching from above, so not too much of a dangerous spot for him to be in just yet.
Yeah, and I think they know a lot of the teams towards the northwest part of the map. If the zone does pull away from there, it's hard for them to get surge while maintaining their position in terms of rotating. And that's where they tend to take advantage of a lot of those teams, whether if it's direct fight or setting up just like that to try to get surge. Others taking a different approach. You see the box-to-box, Tony, Zeus, Creon. They're more of an aggressive team as well. They're going against teams that they can look at as, I wouldn't say rookies, not really making it this far in this career before, but we've seen rookies shine before.
Definitely. Tony, Creon, and Zeus is actually very interesting that they've decided to rotate into the Demon's Dojo, knowing that there was going to be 3 teams landing here, and where they should have an advantage, things are quickly turning around. What seems to be not in their favor right now. They're forced defensively, but into the box. Zeus gets deleted here. It does look like Eddie, Nix, and Licks are just a cut above the rest here, but trades are happening on both sides. Just a very important one-on-one for Eddie to win. He pulls the blade out and starts going to town. This Typhoon is definitely dangerous.
I'm not going to say that I haven't dealt with the Typhoon Blade before in close proximity. It just gets so chaotic and hectic. It's sometimes hard to hit those shots no matter how good of a player you are. And Eddie's doing a good job of taking advantage of that and maintaining his distance to move, but it finally got cut short. He finally gets knocked down. Licks is by himself, but he takes advantage of the damage that was already there. Down goes Creon, so an even trade.
Big exchanges here, but no, the pickup might come through. Licks has got to find him. Surely he's got some visual cues here, but not enough for him to know what's going on. It seems like he's going to back off, try to play for the disengage here. Again, he's got the Typhoon Blade, so shouldn't have too much of an issue. Of course, using that extended stamina, being able to dash away, kinetics in hand as well, so a lot at play here. I'm curious to see if Tony and Zeus will push now. But no, they're going to be content, it seems.
Yeah, I feel like they're just trying to beat him to that reboot van. They know Licks is already down. They know that he potentially has to go back for the reboot cards as well. So they're just trying to cut him off on this rotation, get the reboot first, knowing that even if they do get damage, it's not going to be a lot.
I'm thinking Licks is going to try to go for the knock here out the sky. Get ready. Anything can happen, especially with that extra elevation there. But no, back on over to Reet. Surprise contested as well, right? We didn't expect him to have so much resistance here at the Brutal Boxcar. Typically with a notable trio like this, they'll get a drop to themselves, but no eliminations means that, Jacob, they didn't have to fight too hard for their drop. It seems like they're very much comfortable here.
Yeah, they either pushed that team off completely or they just switched up their drops. That gives Reet, Vert, and Bryce all this space. They can take that whole mountain range. And this is what Vivid was actually alluding to when he was showing that map and showing the teams that were actually spread out. They can take so much space over here on this side of the map. And then while other teams in certain drop spots don't have the metal, Brutal Boxcars is a spot with a lot of metal. Teams will tend to rotate in this direction, especially if the zone keeps pulling them and forcing them to.
Metal always so scarce to get a hold of, especially given some of the changes we've seen, kind of teams go back and forth. But right now, it's going to be a matter of getting into a strong position. Death and Company being contested, you can see that they have a bit of an elimination lead over the players in the area here. However, that doesn't give them full advantage over what could be storm damage. That's always going to be high on the list here to make sure that teams are staying active right now, but they're playing a bit of a dead side, actually sticking to this further outskirts here.
It almost even looked like that mountain, the view range, hoping that the zone pulls over in that direction. You can see from one side of the map to the other. 20 Walkers and Larson, another team who made a late change into this group stage to try to go ahead and up their chances of qualifying to the Major 1 finals. The zone's going to pull all the way over to the rest, so their rotation is not done yet.
That's a team that I'm definitely expecting to finish consistently somewhere inside of that top 5 by the time things are all said and done. Possibly even walk out of here with a Victory Royale, but that is the question. Who will win game number 1 and send themselves straight to finals out of the first group? Out comes the Void Oni Mask for the rotates here for Braids Diminish and Visuals. Also keep in mind to the fundamentals here. Check every bush with the shotgun shot. No need to take a risk here and walk yourself blindly into an ambush. And this is a good spot right here to be in. Early rotates to get a little bit of high ground. They want to continue to make their way center more or less here.
Yeah, that's a team to when they're positioning, you can see the fishing rod in their inventory. They're going to look to kind of box up, position around water so they can continue to fish those shield fish, the floppers late into the game. Other teams, their surge bases, they're trying to go ahead and utilize them as much as possible before they're forced to rotate in towards the zone. And it's kind of like centering up a little bit more towards the eastern lean, but overall centered up towards the north side of the zone.
You can see how the stats are really highlighting the fact that there are plenty of teams here who have experienced their finals, but more importantly, experienced a win when the win condition mattered to send themselves to finals. But that is a minority of the server population so far, so there are going to be some big celebratory wins here today to come. Some history being made for some players. Curve, Tyler, and Shadow, team that lands, of course, to that Flooded Frogs, given that this is the Group 1 setting here. Does seem to have a very strong loadout, as we'd expect of a team that has the Flooded Frogs themselves.
Yeah, this is a team I feel like I expect, whether if it's a victory royale or through that top 5, that they should make it to the Major 1 finals today. Hopefully I don't curse them for that, but they've just been so consistent. Even with the top teams, Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, them, Acorn's team in the lobby as well, they're still finding a way to place into the top 5. Now you take out some of those teams, shift them around due to the groups, and now they have a better drop spot on top of that. I feel like they have success written all over them.
And Shadow's a great player. He's done very, very well in play-in stages, but here's a team we all want to keep our tabs on. Batman, Booga, Clix, and Yamzo. One of the few trios that have actually more or less broadcasted their entire journey live for the world to watch and follow along with. This is a team that has 3 very strong leaders, I would say, and the comms get crazy once we start breaking their way to endgame. Here it is, though.
Saw Creon trying to get rebooted back. We can see on the other side, Eddie's team, they're back as well. Rotating kind of together, parallel a lot of the way. Pump Power, another spot where a lot of teams kind of converge to try to gather as much metal as possible. And with the zone pulling in this direction, it is going to pretend to get a little bit more crowded due to the mountain rage just east of it as well.
We'll have to see here. Zone's going to pop now. Pump Power still in play here. Tony, Zeus, and Creon not feeling the congestion here too much. They want to start playing for a little bit more center zone. Let's jump in with Mason and company, though. Already on the move as well. One of the few teams outside of the bubble right now. And off they go with a nice little white rotate. Notice we're going to see this a lot, though. Wind, Spirits, not necessarily going to be the option of choice here, but the Waters instead. And here it is. Time to catch a medallion. Which one of these trios are going to be the first to go for it? I mean, Jacob, what do you think?
Now, I'm thinking, like, who's going to be brave? I think it's Visual, Braids, and Amish will at least try to make it up towards the top. They've been the most aggressive so far in this lobby, or at least the most aggressive that we've been blessed to see. And it does look like they're going to be the first ones to make a move. Now the islands are so spread out, you can still make your way up there. No intention to try to fight the boss, just so you can have a better advantage to try to get Surge. We've seen it a few times, but not too much.
Yeah, it's just so risky coming up here for obvious reasons. If you start to get that focus of the boss and it isn't your intent to actually finish it off, we'll see what happens here shortly. Other teams are all coming up. It does seem like they all want a little bit of that visual advantage that we just talked about here.
I wonder if they know they're a duo up there, because they can try to steal that one away. I'm trying to look at the minimap right now. It does look like they may be trying to make their way off, give it up. They're a duo. They see a trio on the other side. You may not necessarily know who it is either. If they're an aggressive team, that's just something that you may not want to fight at this stage in the game.
Somehow Exoff already 5 uses of his Oni mask. So we're not even really deep into the mid game just yet. Things are just getting started here. Look at this super wide spread from 8 and higher in Hound, our Demon's Dojo team, as the zones continue to kind of favor this area, and they just have this on lock. Very, very reminiscent to early chapter days when we had that big volcano in the silo here. Almost feels very, very similar in a sense.
Yeah, that big battle off spawn, so they were able to get those 3 eliminations, getting contested. That kind of allowed them to kind of loot up, build the perfect structure, and kind of stay over here without worrying about surge. With the zone pulling over here, there's so many teams that are going to try to rotate towards that north, make their way in from the west as well, and that gives them all the opportunity in the world. It's just all about where it pulls from here is going to be the big question.
I was going to say, it makes
rod?
sense as to why Hound was down here. He's just fishing this entire time. Team watching the high ground, fishing for storm surge tags, of course.
Uh-oh. Focus was a solo for a quick second. Does look like Pandy is trying to make his way on over along with Owl. They get the short end of the stick when it comes to the pull, just so a lot of other teams do as well all around him. It is going to pull all the way towards the north with the eastern side, so you got to remember that team towards Demon's Dojo, Hound and his trio, they must have the best position on the map right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Look at this. The angles from Owl, Pilot, and Andy. This is how they pick up their first elimination there. Owl to Kale, who's out of position. And Pilot had a little bit of the low ground here. All of a sudden, they've attracted this trio next door. This does seem to be more of a desperate fight from AO and team here, likely because they know they're going to have problems with damage in the later half of this lobby here if they can't find something here shortly. But Pandy, big pressure in. It's not looking too good for him. The knock goes through, but the teammates take him to go here. They might be able to play for the pickup, but no. The blades are out. They're trying to break in. They have to leave Pandy behind, and the full finish comes through. There's the update on the damage threshold. We knew it might be a problem for some, and I think it's going to come as a nice update to them that they don't have to worry too much about damage here moving forward for a bit.
Yeah, it was much needed as well, because you can saw AO had no mobility. He had the Fire Oni mask. That's not going to get him across this far pool, but there goes a quick shot. Ooh. They find another elimination, and that is loot that they need. If you look back on a moment and they place in the top 5 and they find themselves in the Major 1 finals, whether it's a Victory Royale, I feel like this moment right here, these eliminations, this is the turnaround point for this team.
Definitely, as Toronto was the one who really set things up for the win there. You saw it looked like the shot went off right as the Oni mask went off, and that's why his body was just thrown across there. Now we get an update with Cease, Blake, and Jack here, who are 900 damage above. This is exactly what we expect of any veterans in the lobby. And Nicholas and Eddie, a contested team off the drop, find themselves well below here in a fight inside the storm line. These shots are going to matter so much right now, and he's got heals to work with, but the pressure, too much here as he gets sandwiched just outside the pump power here.
Just unfortunate, because I truly believe those 4 floppers would have went a long way if he had his teammates reboot card. With the zone pulling over here, not that much damage with the storm at this stage in the game. Hey, I'm not saying it would have been 100%, but he at least had an opportunity that was cut short by a whole nother team. As Zay and Vibes, 300 damage above the storm, but their position is being threatened. There's a whole trio right next to him with a rotation to make.
Good to see Ducky and Stacks still pairing up here as well. They're trying to take their trio to the end. Big pressure coming in now. But Walker's Larson and 20, one of our veteran trios in the lobby right now. Big damage coming in here from the opposite side, but 20 with the defensive hold here buys Walker's just enough time to go ahead and heal up. They're trying to get together likely for the splash here. No, they have water spirits as well. It's going to fully allow them to reset here. This team has to be careful, but no, caught out. It's going to be a free elimination. They actually find 2 for their troubles here to keep them in the game. And this is only 200 damage above the threshold, so very much barely holding on right now in these moments here.
Yeah, and they get a huge pick-me-up with the loot. Extra heals, good positioning. Everything seems to be working right for them. Zone continues to pull forward. We finally get a glimpse of Batman Booga Yamzo and Clicks late in the game. They're just outside of zone, but just one orb can get their way in, and they find their spot, and they quickly set up a base. And this is a team right here. Even though we know they could win from high ground, they can also dominate and thrive in the chaos that the low ground has to offer. And there goes an example. Clicks not necessarily backing down unless he has to, trying to reunite with the team, but the pressure is on.
I want to see Clicks pull out those pre-edits like he is known to do in this type of trio setting, but they are getting pushed back right now. and a very recognizable 0 eliminations for this trio right now. Not something we'd expect, given that Iamzo is someone who not only leads this team, but typically carries in damage. And that trio of Kai Exen is still pushing on with Verge there. We'll see what happens here as we start paying close attention. Other teams on the move right now, Encrypted, Sales, and Death, also trying to play for this high ground. They're going to be one of the first teams to get up here now. And I like this spot. I like where Encrypted and company have put themselves in. As far as this game is concerned, they should be setting themselves up likely for a high ground hold. We'll see.
Yeah, still might have to watch out for that one team that landed Demon's Dojo, because look where the zone's at. They probably had to move a matter of 50 meters all game long, holding the perfect spot. But I think right here, where they're at, that mid layer, high ground can't necessarily target them. Every other team has to rotate into them. If they need Surge, they're in the perfect spot.
That's right, that team up there is likely to be still Hound and Aiden. Take a look at the replay, though. Batman, Bugha, Clicks, and Iamzo end up taking on the pressure that comes in from the team on the other side, and they delete them as they walk right into what seems like the trap set from below. Very nicely done.
Yeah, perfect example of why you gotta get Surge very, very early, because they were down on Surge going up against that trio, and they were kind of forced into that altercation.
What happened here? Wow. 20 and Larson fall as Walkers is the last alive. When we tuned in, he had 15 uses fresh on an Onimas there. Now down to 13, so it seems like his team just didn't have what it took to catch up in time. And we knew it. We wanted to get a little glimpse of what's happening up above. Hound, Aiden, and Higher still have the high ground here. This is their drop spot as well. Do keep in mind they're likely to have the maximum material here. Comparatively, though, on the low ground, Blake and Cease fighting their way all the way through here. Starting to rack up eliminations here.
Yeah, and you can see their material count is low for at least 2 of the 3 members on the team. So you can see they're trying to figure out a way to get an elimination, get a refresh for those siphon materials or any other resources that they can scramble. But with a 4 pull just like this, majority of the team stacked this far back, they know it's just too risky at this moment.
First to make a move here already. Aiden, Hound, Higher getting to the front side of zone. No pressure on them either, as other teams haven't even decided to move just yet. And they have a real opportunity here to make a big play, but they are capitalizing on the chance of being able to farm here. And this is, again, just knowing your zone, knowing your drop here. And it should be honestly, a victory if I ever saw one potentially happening here. But wait a second, Clicks, Batman, Bugha, Iamzo still in the mix here. Take that Encrypted. The team that had one of the first and early rotates there somehow fall. And that must be just a lack of communication or a big mistake. Either one, they're gonna pay for it here, losing the opportunity now to make it to endgame here in game 1.
Yeah, even with Iamzo weak in that moment, Clicks, Batman, Bugha knew the assignment. Hold on to those builds, make sure he could heal up, rotate to zone. You see they immediately drop down. They don't want to be caught at the high ground this early in the game. There's still 4 more zones to go, and a lot of the teams below have the potential to try to contest them.
Look at this, even Hound and Aiden here. They don't want to burn too much material. Notice they are recycling these towers, really trying to do what they can to stay very reserved right now. Out come the Onimas to move across here. They're going to set themselves up. Now comes the commitment with a couple more mats here. But this is going off of the zone, off of this mountain here, down into the crevices towards the water down low. It is going to get very, very interesting here for our high ground teams. Osid and crew, out come all the Onimas. This is where the rotates really start to come to life here. Low ground's going to be even more critical now.
Got to be careful how early you rotate. You don't want to become the target. Higher, Hound, and Aiden, you see them slowly but surely waiting for all these other teams to rotate first, and then they orb to the front side of zone, and they reclaim their position on that high ground, knowing nobody can really contest them. There's 14 teams still alive, and I doubt anybody has had an opportunity to look up and down these mountains. There's so much chaos. Now Mason finds himself in a tough spot, stuck underneath, but luckily another teammate is there to save the day.
This really is becoming now a who's who of NA here for the Group 1. All the teams left alive are typically the vets. and Reet and Bryce being one of those ones that I'm looking to highlight right now. But Chance, Mason, and Donnie, a very experienced team trying to get into those walls. But the defense is looking good here. Reet's holding it down for a second. Kenny gets shots back. A couple go in. It's not looking good. Mason goes down first, but Chance trades him out with Reet there. It's all up to Bryce now. Can he get the 2v1? Bryce finds one. Can he get the second? Too much pressure from Clicks and company as they come in as the third party there for the big eliminations. And all of a sudden now, it is exactly what we are expecting. Big names here making their headlines.
And doing what they do best. They're moving through the low ground. They're claiming as much space as possible. They haven't really had a chance to look up, or at least not just yet. And that's where this team thrives. We talked about the chaos and their communication, but there's also one thing to note. They do not hesitate. When any one of these guys make a call, they all go as a trio and they bulldoze their way through.
Clicks, Ianzo, Batman, Booga had a bit of a slow start here, but they are starting to ramp up right now. Materials looking a little light, though, so I am thinking they are going to need a refresher if they want to win this game. Hound, Aiden, and Higher have just played so perfectly, though, on the high ground right now. Very little pressure has come up on top of them here as they've managed to secure this positioning this entire time here. Ianzo, though, finds, hey, yo, that's a little bit of the material that we were looking for him to grab here. Typhoon Blade coming out to help him get up this mountain, but Clicks left behind now. Forced to rat down into low ground. Can he find a tag? No. He's going to be the first to go down now. It's up to Batman, Boog, and Iamzo here to clutch out as much points as possible.
Yeah, the trio turns into the duo, but the pressure doesn't stop nonetheless. Now they're feeling it, and they're feeling it even more as they continue to try to back up what little builds they have left, quickly getting expended. As Iamzo moves out towards the left, trying to claim space, we continue to move up this mountain. Hound, Aiden, and High R have not been contested just yet, but a quick chop. Finally, things are looking tough as G-Money moves up. Osid is there. They have a contestation, and it does look like Aiden's gonna get dropped.
Seek is really good in these moments here. G-Monster to back him up, and Sid. This is a team that has been here before. They know how to win games, and they've been to final settings. And all of a sudden now, with 3 trios left, it is looking like it is theirs to run away with it, especially since they're only a full team standing right now. Death and Sales as a duo right now are just clinging on, but they have material, they have the mountain, and I mean, it can just be a matter of moments now, Jacob. This team should be winning.
Yeah, Death trying to go up, do something, give himself an opportunity, but it's not enough. Seek just cleans up. 9 elimination, Monster. Welcome to the Major 1 Finals.
It's what we thought would happen, right? A team that we expect, and I think some people are happy that we get to see Clicks load into another lobby, but what matters is taking home that victory royale in G-Money. Sid got to do it just like that in the end there. They played it very, very precisely as well there, Jacob.
Yeah, that's going to be the 6th appearance for Seek and G-Money. That's going to be Osid's 3rd appearance in a grand finals. I called this the golden opportunity. Nobody even contested high throughout the majority of the game, but they picked their moment. They picked it perfect, and they took over when it mattered. That is going to have them smiling ear to ear, and guess what? They get the rest of the day off. That was so much action right there, and it's only been 1 game so far, so I'm going to give it all on over to our analyst to break it down.
Thank you so much, Jacob PR and Monster D-Face. Game number 1. Did you see that chaos? Were you there for it? That's what this is all about, okay? And we're going to get to see 4 more games of that. But again, congratulations to this trio. They're going to be going straight to the Major 1 Finals. That means, as Jacob said, hey, they can take the rest of the night off. They can watch, they can learn, they can start forming a plan for the future, their drop spots. Maybe they want to shake things up. It's exciting, but at the end of the day, they got the VR. They're good to go.
Yeah, they are good to go. And now another trio is good to go, potentially looking at Magic Mosses, which is now no longer owned by this trio right here. But big shout outs to Seek, G-Monster, and Sid. What an incredible performance. And we saw them during the play-ins. They had a great run. We already saw them grab a victory royale right there. And their ability to know when to take height. You heard Jacob talk about it. There was a trio all the way from Zone 8 controlling high ground. And when they noticed that those mats started to get low, that's when they struck.
Yeah, that's the effect of those void masks, right? I mean, we're looking at the zone over here. It's one of those ones where you got to go up the hill, and that's usually very, very hard. But if you can find an angle to throw those masks up, then you can make a play very, very easily for the higher ground. G-Money, Sid, and Seekless, and one of the trios, very rare this season to actually stick together, but they have been competing the entire season together. No switch ups for them, and it instantly pays off in group number 1 here. Congratulations to them.
That's right. We'll have more to break down after this short break, so stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, everyone. We just got done with game number 1 of the day. In case you missed out, Seek, G-Monster, and Sid got themselves the victory royale with 9 eliminations. That means the next time we'll be seeing them is in the Major 1 finals. So now we have to talk about that game we just witnessed. This being kind of like the introductory game of this first competition, right? Game 1. What did you guys expect? Did it live up to the hype? Did it live up to your expectations?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, that zone was pretty rough. So to be able to see players be able to use the Void Oni mask to their advantage, or to just be able to stay as long as they could alive, I mean, that is exactly what I want to see in these games right here. And although Hire's trio did their best to hold high ground for way too long, eventually you're going to run out of mats, especially when the zone pulls the way that it did.
Yeah, I mean, returning to a tale as old as time, something that we've kind of seen over Fortnite competitive over the past couple of competitions is always like the discussion, right? How long can a team actually hold the high ground throughout some of those moving zones before they start to get some of those like diminishing returns, right? Can they actually win the game? And for Hire, Hound, and Aiden right there being up on the high ground in the early part of those moving zones, kind of holding it for so long, they just did not find any refreshes to kind of justify staying up there. So eventually it is going to get taken from them, but still very good placement out of them in terms of just gathering points for that consistency leaderboard.
And we really saw them through. Oh, I'm sorry. We really saw them throughout the entirety of the game there. We saw that they were going to be triple contested over at Demon's Dojo. But afterwards, obviously, we can see them with the Mythic Oni Void Mask there. So that means that they were able to take advantage of that contestation and be able to kind of rotate that into this early high ground aggression. I'm guessing with the Mythic SMG as well. They felt like they had a lot more opportunities for that aggression, but unfortunately, they do get snuck up on. And Higher here, potentially going for just a little bit of a heal off, but obviously when you have two other players shooting you down, there's only so long that you can keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I love the kind of chaotic nature of that Void Oni mask, right? In the past, kind of contesting high ground doesn't always look like that. Like, you know, it's not easy to just kind of appear up there. And now with that, you're like, okay, I'm on high ground, I'm shooting down, and there's all these like projectiles flying across screen. Like, is one of these going to be the one that teleports here? Not that one. What about this one? Not that one. You know, it's a crazy chaotic flow that I'm here for it. As I mentioned before, Seek, G Monster, and Sid, they are going through to the finals, but we saw someone else performing pretty well here in that 4th place spot. Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Iamzo. Kelly prepared the curse, so we didn't see them win game number 1 because we want to see more of Clicks. And as I pull up my script, it does say here he doesn't win game number 1 because we do want to see more. So thank you for reading my script, Kelly. I appreciate that.
Whoa, if we're talking about curses, Vivid's the one that said that they're going to win the 4th game. So he put the number 4 out into the universe. Everyone blame him, not me.
Well, I mean, listen, it's bound to happen, right? It's Clicks, of course. But something else that's kind of bound to happen is Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Iamzo doing very well in tournaments. They've kind of proven themselves already, even as a kind of a newly formed trio when we look at some of the other trios that are kind of competing. Something that was kind of crazy, maybe not so crazy, was how much damage this trio actually had, right? They had 0 eliminations going into the 6th zone, and I was like, wow, you know, maybe I was kind of expecting them to be maybe a little bit more aggression, but they found their first elim in the 6th zone. That's kind of where they found their momentum to get into that end game right there. Just unfortunately, even though, you know, they found themselves in that comfortable low ground spot that they like, that, you know, the suffocation from the hill, that little bit of a west port just kind of made it really uncomfortable then for them to kind of maneuver.
Yeah, we weren't able to watch it on the stream, but there was a moment where I saw them full wipe a trio, and that just showcases how coordinated they are. It's not like they're picking players apart. It's that once they find a trio in a box, they all go in, just like you called out earlier on in the show, Vivid, that they just have so much communication, so much aggression once they are confident in getting into one of these other players' boxes. But I love the differences of 2nd and 3rd place here, really showcasing that a high elimination game or a high placement game can really propel you up in the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. And in 2nd place there, we got Death, Sales, and Encrypted. We saw there in those final few moments, it was just Death and Sales. As a duo, they were fighting it out in those final few moments of that last game. Yeah, I mean, I'm so excited to kind of see more. I do love these kind of games, though, like you guys have called out, when you have like old men out and being like, I'm not moving, so you guys got to figure it out. We even saw there in a situation where Iamzo had not only the Oni mask, but also the Typhoon Blade. How do you guys feel about this pairing? Do we want to maybe carry both just in case? Like, I feel like that's a good call, but you know, what do you think?
I think it was more so of just a situation where they don't have heals anymore. There was already so much chaos going on in the low ground, and just in case you need some more mobility once it does get to that point, you might as well carry one in your loadout.
Yeah, I mean, worked out very, very well, right? That added mobility kind of got him around the builds, up the hill, added a couple of more points there, but turning tails to game number 2 here. We, of course, have one team already into the finals. They are no longer going to be playing in the competition, so how are things going to switch up with them out of the lobby?
Well, Vivid, you took the words right out of my mouth. Let's find out together. Casters, let's send it your way for game number 2.
That's right, and that means Magic Mosses now opens up as G Money, Osid, and Seek. We're landing there just north of where Ree and his trio are contested. And those are, of course, teams that are going to need points. And then you start thinking about everyone at the Demon's Dojo. There are going to be mix-ups here now coming up, Jacob.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of mix-up. We already seen it before game 1 even started. Spots we thought were going to be a little bit more contested turned out to be a little bit easier, while others seem to be surprise contested overall. So even if you're thinking Magic Moss is a team 1, how many other teams in the lobby are thinking that same thing? So that's something I definitely have my eye on as we go into game 2.
You are going to have to take the risk if you want to end up on a Victor Royale stage. Let's see it as game number 2 is ready. All right, right, Jacob, here we have it. Game 2 is underway now. The victory conditions have been set. You saw it play out that just because the zone ends at the Demon's Dojo and you land there, you are not guaranteed a win. What's most important is if you are playing that high ground, you find a refresher. Otherwise, you are going to come up short. Talking about, of course, these contested drops, we get to watch a fight right here for the weapons. Blake sees and Jack are the first to laying down, and it's just chaos unfolding. Does seem like the first casualties fall on both sides.
Oh man, that was looking a little dangerous right there, but back up they go, trying to escape on out. That elimination did get cleaned up. Jack finds a knock onto another one. A very great start for them. It kind of lasted a little bit longer than I think they would hope for, and a little bit scarier in game number 1, forcing a huge clutch up situation. But Jack, someone who has only one finals appearance so far, is showing up and showing out for this team.
This is a full-out like surprise contest as well. Like, Cease, Blake, and Jack did not expect to be fully contested like this. When you look at the, where teams were claiming they were going to drop, it was definitely not on top of Cease. So for them to win their drop 2 games in a row now is definitely telling that they might be the stronger trio there. And those points are, of course, going to be hugely welcomed.
You see
Just
this?
off to the west here, though. Yeah, there's a little bit of a standoff.
3 teams at the opened up Magic Mosses, all getting that idea. Eddie, Nix, and Licks was one of those teams that already switched up before game 1, so they probably saw it open up here in game 2, so they thought, hey, maybe we could switch on over, make things happen. And they performed very, very well considering the circumstances that we saw early on in game 1.
Well, we knew a team from the Demon's Dojo was likely going to land here, given that they, of course, had to deal with Hound, Aiden, and Higher, who played exceptionally well, and that is exactly what has just occurred there at the Magic Mosses. It is now a triple cont for game 2 by surprise. For Braids, Diminish, and Visuals, they're keeping up the momentum here. A quick set of eliminations at the floodgate, and off they go to start farming up their resources, getting their loadouts together here. Let's not forget, man, getting a top 5 is just as good, of course. A finals seat is a finals seat, so they just got to stay the course and play a good game here.
Yeah, worry about your own game for the most part, because you also got to realize, let's say we go to game 4, game 5, one of those teams inside of the top 5 win a game, that opens up a whole spot on the leaderboard. So you got to be able to have that mental toughness to never give up, because there's always an opportunity going down to the very last and final moments.
That is true. The better teams will funnel points to the top, but it'll just average out once they get taken off the leaderboard. So yeah, plenty of opportunity to jump up a significant amount of spots, so long as you have a solid showing. Jumping in with Cayenne, Steph Curry, and Verge here on the move right now. Just on the outskirts here, super south of most of the teams right now in the zone, trying to see if they can find some action here. They're trailing behind the team. I wonder if they know this.
Might be a little too early to tell, but I'm feeling the south zone this game, just judging by what's on the map. Colazo gets caught out yet again. He goes down. I knew I saw somebody in that mini-map. I wasn't 100% sure, but I saw one solo player running around that trios. So another fight's going to break out. Doesn't seem like Eddie, Nix, and Licks can escape these early game struggles.
Let's watch this play out right now. Licks, Eddie, and Nick here are up 1 on these teams for the early fight. This time, it's not looking too hot, as Eddie's going to be the first to take big damage. The block comes out from the Oni Master, and the Forgotten Wall punishes the team once again here. This trio is having a really hard time right now gathering themselves here. Just seems like Polis is putting way too much pressure in. They're thinking about diving on him.
Going for a straight chop, expose him as much as possible. They know there's at least scratches on him, and they're trying to add more pain to the hurt. Another angle as power goes on the other side, and they're looking to spray through, and that's the huge difference. The Hollow Twisters, they can spray, they can do the damage, but that's why you see the Fury Assault Rifle on the other side, forcing that team with their backs up against that wall.
The problem is, though, they are running out of ammunition, so Polis looking super light now, down to 27 bullets, barely a magazine to go. It seems like they're regretting their decision to kind of drag this one out right now. If they can't get the finish, they're going to have to find loot instead to make up for this lost time. It does seem like a full-on disengage from both sides here. And I would say Power, Polis, and Listen definitely come ahead a little bit there. So not too bad for them. Back on over to the dojo. Hound, Higher, and Aiden uncontested now. They've got this drop to themselves, rightfully earned through a hard-fought battle there. Seem to have to find themselves now into a fight here shortly.
Yeah, not bad. Third place, 5 eliminations throughout that last game, but with the zone continuously pulling over, I feel like that was a moment they really needed to take advantage of, but at least they're getting the points, moving up the leaderboard, and they're not too far off for zone now. We'll see where this next one pulls, and this next one, where it pulls, is going to be really telling where the end zone might end up.
Yeah, they're going to need to play for that medal there on into the pump power. Let's do a little update here where Reed seems like his loot is definitely starting to come together right now as well. Where's his team? They're very spread apart right now, just outside of their drop here of the brutal boxcars.
Yeah, there's a lot of space, and that's the one thing about this drop spot when you do, whether it's contested or not, a lot of that loot is so spread out that you do spend a good portion of the early minutes of the game just trying to scavenge, get that good loadout, or as best of a loadout as you could possibly get. Death Sales encrypted, 1 elimination so far. After that last game, I would say momentum is on their side.
Ooh, big knock there onto Kaz for encrypted. Larson, Walker's here in a fight. Donnie, Chance, and Mason playing the low ground right now. Pressure coming in from 20 up above. Tough spot to be in as he loses the wall to Walker's here. Walker's is quick. As far as mechanical players go, he is definitely up there. One of the younger players, just starting to make his rise the last year or two. More and more finals appearances are coming through for this guy right here, and he has shown us what he's got. It's a big moment now for him to put up. Larson, a very experienced part of this team here, making the call-outs, playing the side angles, not really putting himself in harm's way just yet.
Man, this is just a scary and risky situation for both of these teams, because you talked about them. This is both teams that you can kind of realistically see in a Major 1 finals, batting out Hurley here in game 2. Larson trying to go for the top, but Donnie's backing him down, but not without sacrifice. Some damage goes out the window, but you can see his ammunition. 3 shots left in the Oni. Calls for some backup, but that little hit step right there, calling for the ammo, cost them some damage again, giving Walker's 20 and Larson a little bit of a momentum shift.
Ooh, Walker's gonna get punished here. Now has to slow down. It's gonna come down to Larson here if he can find his tag. He finds it onto Mason. That's gonna set him up to give a little bit more pressure back, and Chance is trying to take the fight through the wall here. Larson jumps down a layer. He owns all this, but he's out of material now. This is not looking good. He finds a split met from the metal there. And they are just getting collapsed on right now. All of a sudden, things are not looking too hot for this trio here.
Yeah, the back's really up against the wall. The material count is super low, but it almost seems like on the other side, they're getting the same memo. A lot of resources have been expended without a huge advancement in the fight, so they're just going to try and orb their way on out. Both teams really missing a lot and hurting from that last battle. I would say the only saving grace is hopefully both of these teams did just enough damage so they don't really have to worry about Storm Surge this early in the game.
They definitely did a lot of damage. You can see most telling is that the heals are low, not just the material here. So this disengage is for sure warranted, I would say, from both trios. Yeah. And sometimes, you know what, you just gotta, put your pride aside and know when to just back off and play to recoup your position back into the tournament.
Yeah, due to especially the 2 win conditions, you don't have to get every single elimination to try to catch up on the leaderboard early. Yeah. Clixiamzo, Batman Booga, trying to rotate in from the north, taking advantage of a lot of the teams that rotate next to them. It's part of their game plan. They don't necessarily like to go to that box-box chaotic fight unless they absolutely have to, or just have a super advantage to go for like a pre-piece or something.
Clicks on the move right now. Eyes on Magma. Lost him for a second there. Josh has got the high ground from this major city here. Batman Booga setting up a little bit of a side angle, gets punished for it, unfortunately. As Void Oni Mask is out, so he'll be able to teleport if he has to.
They know if anybody's up there, they got to move towards the south. They're just kind of hoping they move in their direction. But we can see on the mini-map, they're choosing to rotate a little bit towards the west before they make their downward pull towards the south and inevitably the zone. And that's where it's kind of up to Clixiamzo, Batman Booga. They have a little bit of a better position. They can cut them off, or they can kind of rotate directly in towards zone and get a better position.
Jumping in with Beasts. Full team down right now. makes them probably regret their decision to land at the Magic Mosses if can't get the pickup here. But off to Reboot Van we go. Deep into the storm here. There's a team waiting. Little does he know, likely another team trying to play for a pickup here shortly. It's Aiden, Hound, and Hired. We knew that they were going to have to force a fight given that they gave up their contested drop. Teams have backed their way out. And it's looking very, very good for them right now as they get to secure this elimination here. That's going to be a 2 special piece right there. And off they go, rotating south now. Well,
It's
it
just
barely
tough.
cost them anything.
Yeah, it's just tough for you can see the solo player in the mini map. No matter what happens here, the zone's going to continue to pull towards the south. You have to be able to move quick, loot quick, whatever shambles are left over, and that's how one of the eliminations came to be. It's a great job from that trio to kind of realize that they're all separated as solos and to act quickly.
We got Ayo, Toronto, and Liam playing a little bit of high ground here. They're inside the storm, though. Not too sure if it was safe to make the rotate. Out comes the Oni mass. It's going to be a big rotate there, leaving them completely exposed. You see the shots coming in. Does seem like they have the team watching them out right now.
Hey, 57 points for this team, not necessarily all having the same mobility out of that last game. They're just kind of making it work with what they have. This time around, though, does seem a little bit easier with the Void Mask. You see the fishing rod that they're hoping to have utilized later in the game, depending on where the zone pulls. And since it is pulling towards the south, maybe it goes up towards Foxy. I do believe there is going to be some patches of water. You just got to be able to rotate there first before other teams get the same idea.
Another team watching from just outside, not too far off. Ducky, Cube, and Stacks here with the high ground. And we have the the fake Falcon, Peter Pot.
I think that's Jeff. I think that's Jeff. We all know how he can be at times.
Oh my gosh. In the lobby right now.
It's one of those things, too. You see a team rotating in behind you a little bit late in zone. It pulls further and further away. They have to make the decision right now. How long do you stay here? Try to hold so many other teams that are in the same spot as you, or do you try to rotate out early? Try to get over that mountaintop, because you see there's already one team in the mini-map waiting on the edge of that mountaintop to try to get surge for all these teams that have to move up that elevation.
Now, this team here may be full-on trolling with their names, but their position in the tournament is super sound at this current game 2 here. They have so much material to work with. The loadout looking very solid here. They could push off most teams. Do keep in mind, Ducky's trio that was on the high ground barely had any mats. It seems like they have had a bit of a struggle here outside the mass meadow, and they're sticking around trying to see if they can actually find a refresh. Now, I don't know how I feel about this, as Jeff and Trio are looking to jump in. Those wood mats are not going to save them for long, and an all-out war breaks out here, and it is not good. Casualties on both sides here as Cube falls, but Ducky with the instant res. Stacks trying to fight up top. Puts up a good defense here, buys themselves a little bit of time, and takes down Jeff with the knock trade there.
Thought it was going to be easy, run into a Typhoon Blade, but Stack still gets caught out. Fortunately, he was separated by himself. HQ Ducky, they were healing up, getting the revive. 385 above Storm Surge. All they need to do is survive this moment right here, but HQ takes a big shot. You know he has the possibility of going down to the Storm. They don't have a lot of HP to reheal in this moment, so they're just going all in. Now or never, putting it all on the line, and they get another knock onto Kaz, but just a little bit too late for the Siphon really make a play here, and even more teams shooting back in that direction, all for nothing, because everybody gets taken out.
Yeah, one player left here. Jirian Fanboy trying to stay alive right now. He's going to fall to the storm, though. Unfortunately, no credit for Munker there, even with all that extra attempted help. But it's Toronto in team that seem to be pushing in right now. And oh, wait, Exoff actually did make it out. So one of their teammates are still alive here, down to the low ground. But what was the communication? It seems like he didn't recognize. The trio was still sitting in the storm there, and down he goes. Well, look at this. This is going to surely jump up Toronto and Ayo. Continued inside of that top 5 standing there.
There might be more, though. I'm thinking about, wait, there's more, because I see a solo player exposed down there. They're going to go back for that Mass Meadows reboot. As you see how that one came to fruition. Doesn't matter how strong your blade is. 2v1 in the same box to get the elimination. So it's going to be an interesting decision how long he waits as a solo before he tries to make a move.
Jack sees Blake from being contested to now playing this mountain here for a couple zones. Is going to finally be forced to move as things start to pull west here. I do like this area for general endgame as we're leading right into Canyon Crossing here shortly. Other teams already set up as it seems like the islands have spawned in as well. Look at this, full team behind them right now as they're sitting on this launch pad.
Yeah, and typically I wouldn't necessarily like the launch pad, but you can see they're kind of set up with their surge base. It will be a short pad. And this is kind of how that fight started. Look at the K. It almost seemed like Stack said, you know what, forget my shock and let me join in on the fun with the Typhoon Blade. There goes another slam right there. He is just going absolutely crazy. Kaz trying to sneak a shot on the other side, but by then, the damage has been done.
Yeah, it was looking like he almost clutched up 2 sets of eliminations there, but unfortunately, the reses ended up going through. Here we get to see what team took the high ground for the islands that spawned in. It's going to be Amplify, Lures, and Mississippi here. They need more damage. This is good activity happening below them. Really set themselves up. No points earned just yet for this trio here, so game 1 was a wash.
You got to really hope to get damage. You see them 141, 191, increasingly higher, because if they have to go down off of the arena to try to fight for their surge, just remember, Monster, they got to glide. They got to void their way down. A lot of their movement is going to be projected by moves way ahead that everybody can see.
That's right. Can't telegraph it too easily. The team will end up waiting for you. Meanwhile, Jingson and Andrew here, just outside the Warriors' watch right now in a surge battle. Back and forth here. Splash is starting to be used super early here, but Andrew lit up. Time to get out of here. Can't really afford to mess around here too much longer. Surge starts to turn on, and this is probably going to spell the end for this trio here if they can't find a fight, or at least a couple tags here shortly. The arena's already pushed out. The arena islands are pushed out of the storm, so they need to be looking up or at least finding tags on his team's free rotating in front of them. And you can tell desperation is kicking in here. Sin doesn't even wait for his trio at all. He is full committing right now, trying to put the tournament on his back. But no, he is unfortunately not going to be able to do it. Doesn't look like Jings is going to be able to either. And that's going to send this trio back to the lobby there after earning their first set of 6 points. But it happens. It happens even to the best of us.
Yeah, I believe their early game, getting caught off guard, going down, forced to reboot, set them so far behind. We're seeing the results of the Typhoon Blade in action. They're just trying to spray him down, but not without at least one of their teammates feeling the pain. Canyon Crossing, don't see a lot of fights going down over here. With the zone moving in this direction, sometimes push comes to shove. You got to do what you can. Cricket's down. Nox is able to get at least one elimination, trying to gather as much space and loot as possible while picking up the eliminations. Those points are crucial. And with the zone moving in, he realizes, I cannot be the hero. I have to go on as a solo.
Yeah, I like that play right there. Just gets out, finds himself a nice secure set of eliminations. And now it's just play for the storm here. Unfortunately, that was a bad Void Oni throw there. Got to find a little bit more headspace, but teams up above are not really allowing him to do so. There he goes, and just inching his way forwards right now. There's that team that's on his heels now, starting to push up. It's not looking good for Nox.
It's just tough. He's almost forced to wait for all these other teams to rotate first. He's 449 above the damage threshold, so at least he has that going for him, not really having to worry about damage on this rotation, but you can see how it started. Smoke went down. He's trying to make a play, gets that first knock on the Zeus. He goes all the way around and gets another drop onto Tony. Call him a playmaker, man, because he is putting in work.
That was perfect. That was a very, very nice read right there. Find the opportunity. Doesn't get easier than that. Meanwhile, we got Verge, Kyan, and WTJ Steph Curry right now cooking it up here. This is a very interesting end zone right here, going straight into the Shogun Solitude. And look at the way it's playing out, right? We're talking like a lot of terrain at play here.
A lot of different elevations. I feel like I can count on one hand alone how many times it's ended up here. So a wrench has been thrown into the mix, and it's exciting to see at the same time. See how a lot of these teams deal with this, especially on the side of the mountain, getting focused. They quickly try to maneuver out, but a team that we saw above Surge quickly find themselves below, and that's Visuals. That's Brazen and Minish on the other side. Steph Curry with the first shot, and he hits it, downs onto a Minish. The other teammates are still alive. They're still putting down pressure, trying to save the day.
This is all in a matter of moments as the rotate was going through. Take a look at that. Went from 6 points on up to about 6 eliminations. Meanwhile, Clicks, Iamzo, and Batman Booga remaining calm, right? Even amongst all this battling happening around them, they still haven't picked up a set of eliminations. They've managed to barely stay afloat here on the surge damage, and again, this is not what we expect of them. However, they have been slow and steadily making their way into endgames, and these critical moments now, that's the refresher this team's going to need here.
Yep, quickly moving to the build,
trying to
making as
break
much
over for
space as
Clicks.
possible. Yep, that's teamwork really making the dream work. He has a lot of those HP heals, doesn't want to use too many on his way back. Especially if he does, he wants to make sure to get the full effect, use it with the team. Not too much missing now, but another tough rotation to go.
I thought for a second they were going to take the zip line and just destroy all the builds straight to the top. Hey, anything is possible at this point here. A little glimpse of what's going on there. Look at the congested side on the north there. That's what happens when it starts pulling up and out of the canyon there. It is straight vertical terrain at play here. Meanwhile, Cease and crew get the first dibs here on the new territory. Now they are using their Void Oni mask to rotate very early, so they're likely effectively giving up the high ground here. Most teams will want to throw it late so you can build on top of it. So I am interested to see who's going to come out on top after this entire exchange is over.
I feel like you're reading my mind right there, because this next zone, as it does pull down, that's all fine and dandy, but you can see towards the west, see towards the east. If the zone pulls there, it's going to go up the mountains. It's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. Anybody that chose to go for the low ground is hoping for a north or south pool.
It looks like Ree and Bryce might be the first teams to go for high ground here. Cease opting to play that mid ground there. You can see he's just trying to make his way up this mountain a little bit, but Jack is left behind now. Finally, they do get to one another, and they are just trying to figure out what is happening here on their layer. Meanwhile, Ree and Bryce do have the high ground as a duo here. No Vert alive now, and look at this. They haven't even earned themselves any eliminations this game. It's going to bounce right back in the direction in which they came. I love that they're taking the time to farm here. That's going to make a huge difference for them.
Yeah, and if they can position themselves early, we saw it in that last game. Not too many teams have the ability to look up on that high ground team because of all the chaos. And then now you add in the fact we're moving back up those mountains that we just came down from. Nobody is going to have an easy road throughout this next rotation.
Look, and Ree and them only had 2 uses left on the Oni Mask, so they do have to be very, very cautious on how they end up utilizing us. We're only in zone 9.
Not gonna be too forgiving, but Encrypted and Sales trying to hold on to their spot on the leaderboard from all the way on the southeastern part of the map, making their way over.
They're just gonna build it out. They're gonna try to hammer this one out with mats from the high ground here. Let's see if it ends up working out. Clicks, Iamzo, and Batman Booga have everyone in a barrel down below them. Onto their layer is going to be a huge mistake here for Encrypted and Sales. We already know Sales didn't have an Oni mask, so he was slowing down Encrypted's rotates there, and it just turns into pure punishment now as Iamzo is loaded on material now. He's starting to focus up the high ground here.
And this is the stage of the game right now. 16 teams still alive. We're barely starting to get into placement, so there's a lot of pressure put onto Encrypted with his teammates going down. Batman Booga, Clicks, Iamzo, they have an opportunity to look down and they find another elimination. They know they need these resources. They're looking to make it far in this game.
This is very interesting. Iamzo makes the call, get down here, get those materials and keep playing it out, but it's going back up the mountain. Mistakes may have been made. We'll see if they have enough gas in the tank to get up top. Aiden and Hound come flying up and under, but Bryce and Reet playing a 2-man defense here from up above have to be careful. And Bryce is all the more scared of how he's seeing all these players come up. Yep, he ends up giving it up. 30 mats, no mats now. Make it count here. Meanwhile, Crook and Kicks left alive here. Teams are just falling apart here. Looks like it's all duos left at this point.
Yeah, the high ground. See, there was a knock up there, but because nobody can look up, they do get the revive off. Clicks is down. Batman Booga and Yamzo forced to clutch up here as a solo. They find that one elimination, the resources. They're moving up the side of the mountain, trying to get the front side of the zone, but there's too many teams cutting their path off, making it hard, making a tough rotation, including the high ground. This is their chance to put pressure down on all these teams, get them to waste those resources so when the end game happens, they can take it with ease.
One of the only full trios left above have high ground right now. Yamzo, Batman Booga have the mats to play this one out, but they're going to continue to play the low ground here, play for positioning, and most importantly, the eliminations here on the front side of the zone. Plenty of heals to go through as well, as they're going to start to look to recoup themselves. Yamzo looking for the edit here. Nothing comes through. Will they break the high ground team? I mean, at this point, they just need to find a moment here to breathe. But Shadow, Tyler from the Flooded Frogs, all the way down to Shogun Solitude, still in the game right now. Still have a chance, but they have no material left. It's just up to Tyler.
Yeah, so many teams are ripped to shreds, missing one or two players on their team. Forced to have a couple players clutch up. Tyler, Shadow, they're two players I talked about there consistently, and now it's time to make it work. Two big shots, make it three as Hound goes down. A much-needed elimination. He's going to get the siphon, the material, a pick-me-up opportunity as he orbs to the high ground.
But let's see if he ends up focusing height. That's what I want to know. Is high ground going to be able to walk away with this, or will a chance open up here? But first, Tyler and company keep fighting through. It's all up to Shadow now. Onto low ground. He ends up punishing Yamzo with a monster shot there, but no elimination comes through. It's up to Batman Booga, the healthy one, to hold things down now in the low ground. He is out of material. Yamzo's got everything. He tries to drop him a heal. Yamzo finds Shadow there. Payback in the exchanges, and it is all going down right now. How is Yamzo still alive here? Siphon is keeping him in the game, but in the end, a second place for Batman Booga. Clicks and Yamzo there, and our high ground teams do seem to take home game number 2 for the win.
I'm not even in the game, and seeing Yamzo get those eliminations, my life flashed before my eyes, thinking he could do this from just a sliver of HP. Turns around, gets the elimination off to Shadow, and that's when I thought that opportunity changed. But you gotta give it up. They turned this game around almost.
I'm just watching the health fly back up. I couldn't believe it. Kicks, Crook, and Totem got extremely lucky with the way things played out, but they played it masterfully from up above, putting pressure down relentlessly, not giving the low ground teams a chance to actually bounce back. And look at this, Kicks goes with the full commit with no mats, cuts off Batman Booga. He doesn't see it coming, and just like that, they win the game. Congratulations, match number 2 is gonna go to Kicks, level 1 Crook and Totem hand. Zeke, tell me what you got as we send this team to finals.
You know what I have, Monster D-Face? It's games of Fortnite. I love the chaos that we get to see in these end games. They're so crazy. But again, we're seeing the same thing happen. High ground winning games, which is crazy, Kelly and Vivid, because you would think that's not the case, right? You think these Void Oni masks kind of make that something you can kind of manage, but for Kicks and company, they're like, hey, we'll just hold it down. You guys fight down below. We'll get a victory royale, and now they're going to the Major 1 finals.
Well, just like what we saw in game 1, the team that was holding high ground for majority of the early moving zones did eventually drop it, and it's really the teams that are kind of paying attention to not just the action that's going on low to middle ground, but also paying attention to that high ground, realizing when teams are getting weak up there and then taking advantage of that, using the Oni mask to be able to teleport up there and then hold the high ground from around zone 10, zone 11 on.
Yeah, I mean, I felt bad for Rio watching that game. They positioned themselves so well on the east side of that zone and ended up pulling west all the way over to Shogun Solitude, right? So the take here for this team was pretty easy, being that Reed was just a duo with very minimal mats. But this is one of those instances, Zeke, right, where it's like, listen, we're here for the win. A win is a guaranteed final spot. But then it's like, we just watched Batman Booga and Yamzo clutch up as a duo while Clicks was down and just pick up so many points in such a credible fashion that we've got to go ahead and shout that out too.
Yeah, that's right. We'll break down that and more after this short break, because there's so much to talk about after that last game. But stay tuned. We'll see you in just a little bit. Welcome back in, everybody, to the FNCS. We just got done with game number 2, which means we're about to enter that halfway point. Remember, we only have 5 games today, and that will kind of wrap up group number 1. So a lot of things to talk about after that last game, but a big shout out once again, Kicks, Level 1 Crook, and Tottenham. They got themselves the victory royale. They're going straight to the Major 1 finals. But let's talk about some other things we saw in that last game, like Iamzo and Batman Booga. We saw Clicks kind of go down, and then they're just running around as a duo, and a lot of other duos kind of put in a similar situation in the like shambles kind of situation they're in would kind of crumble. These guys, the complete opposite.
Yeah, I mean, any one of these players here could easily solo clutch, and that's exactly what we saw from Iamzo and Batman Booga. Although that's not necessarily solo clutch, that's a duo clutch. Iamzo really was the star of this game right here, getting Elam after Elam. The amount of aggression that we got to see from them, even when Clicks did go down right here, did not slow them down at all. They understand that if they're going to be in the low ground, if they're not going to be able to go for the win here, then they need to get those elimination points to hold up consistency.
It was actually huge, right? We saw Iamzo get cracked too right when they got down to the final moments of this game, but quickly picked up 2 eliminations after that, right? So Siphon was a huge part of actually being able to continue to play out this game. That's going to be the first of the 2 right there. Iamzo instantly able to go into the storm and kind of pick up those materials to solidify those further placement points right there. Just an incredible clutch out of that duo right there in the end game.
Oh no, everyone has moved except for Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Iamzo, who are still in 4th place.
Vivid, why did you curse us? But listen, Kelly, theoretically, right, or I guess in some ways, they're in 2nd, right? Because either you get a victory route to go straight through, or you end in the top 5, which on this leaderboard will look like 6th through 10th. Just think top 5 in consistency, right? More on that later. Don't worry about it. Right now, Clicks, Batman Booga, Iamzo, after that game, they're basically in 2nd place. A few other duels we saw, though, Shadow, Tyler, and Curve. They're currently in 7th place after that last game, but we also saw them in that last kind of top 3 situation. I love kind of seeing the different trios and how they're kind of adapting, how they're looking to approach some of these end games. I mean, at the end of the day, Fortnite is like a resource management game, right? What can you take with you to the very end, and how do you kind of manage with what you have? These guys did well. They're currently in 7th, right? That's striking distance.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that they were landing all the way over in Flooded Frog, so that was quite a rotation that they had to make all the way in Shogun Solitude. But, I mean, again, Curve going down, that didn't slow down Shadow or Tyler at all. They were able to kind of control this middle ground right here and use to the advantage of where the zone was pulling.
Yeah, I mean, one of the craziest things that I actually saw amongst this clutch that this duo had was Tyler ended up getting caught in the back of the zone, right? Ended up having to use the Void Mask to kind of go up right there, and somehow Shadow made his way immediately back to Tyler, right? The regrouping right there amongst this duo was incredible. Picked up a couple of points, and Kelly, like you mentioned, the clutches, they're going to be super, super important for securing the top 5 in the consistent leaderboard, and we've already seen so many today.
I really think also this shows just Shadow being the veteran of this trio. Although all of them do have great performances, Shadow really is kind of the leader of this trio here, and being able to not just be a leader, but also be able to frag it at the end is such an important part. And we actually had a few interviews with some pro players earlier on asking what the differences were between duos and trios, but something I thought really interesting that one of the pro players said is that trios this time around is so much different than what it was 3-4 years ago, in the sense of those traditional roles of the IGL, the fragger, and the support aren't really there anymore. Everyone kind of needs to be able to play all the roles, especially as a fragger.
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. I always love kind of getting the insight from the players, right? Because we can kind of talk about what we see, but them as a player is always going to be that extra perspective that we may not always get. So that's pretty cool. Thank you for that, Kelly. I also wanted to highlight, Vivid, you mentioned Reet and Bryce there. In that one situation, they kind of burn a ton of materials to kind of claim this front side of zone on this hill, right? And a lot of people would look at that and go, wow, this is a big moment for them. But then the zone decides to bounce in the completely opposite direction.
Yeah, I mean, a quick look at their materials right there while they're on high ground. You can see that something was clearly invested into that position right there, and it just instantly ended up getting contested. Maybe the trio saw that they were only a duo up there, but shout out to them, right? You are a duo at the end of the day. Might as well try to claim one of the best positions in the game and kind of just work with it. Unfortunately, though, the Oni Mask making those rotations way easy for some of those trios to get to the other side.
Yeah, and something you called out earlier too, where it was Zone 7 or Zone 8, where Reet and Bryce had a great position, and then the zone just pulled the exact opposite way. So maybe they were a little embittered by the zone, and they're like, no, you know what? We're taking height anyway.
sometimes it goes your way, right? And just the RNG nature of the game, sometimes it doesn't, right? The zones will do what the zones do. But with that being said, it is again that halfway point of the competition. 3 games left to go. Remember, Victory Royale or top 5 at the end of these 5 games will take us through to the Major 1 finals. With that being said, Jacob PR, Monster D-Face, take it away.
Thank you so much. One more time, Monster. They said it was the halfway point. Time really does fly when you're having fun, and I hope these competitors are too as well. 2 spots already gone, 8 spots left to go, 3 through Victory Royales and 5 through that leaderboard.
Yeah, that's right. If you're up in the standings and you've already broken about the 100+ point threshold, you're feeling pretty good about your position in the tournament right now. Given that with just a couple more rounds, you just have to claw your way through several more points to be there. But of course, anything can happen in this Victory Royale format. You saw in the last game, even with Re and crew being up in a position to succeed, they ran out of material. So let's see it here now for game number 3.
This is a big opportunity, the halfway point. And this is something like Kelly said, hey, maybe game number 3 for Clix, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo. If you're Vivid, you want to enact a little bit of a curse, maybe game number 4. But you can already see on the minimap, a couple of fights already breaking down. You can see over towards Shattered Span, a lot of our contested drop spots with 2 spots opening up. That's doing a lot of mental games to the lobby. Do you switch up now? Do you switch up later? And this is one right now, no matter how many times they fought it out today, this is their 3rd bout that's about to break down off spawn.
Yeah, here at the floodgate right now, Visuals and Munition Braids, the first to touch down with the high ground here. And we already know they've been battling this one out back and forth. Think about it, for every team, for every game that passes, essentially, a new drop spot does open up. A team either becomes free to move in or possibly uncontested there onwards. This game, no different. Right now, my thought process is going back on over to the Magic Mosses, the Lost Lake right here with Clix, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo. These are the teams that are likely most affected, with other teams moving into the vicinity now.
Yeah, and you gotta think about their performance evaluation history. 4 games, right? Recently, they've been winning 2 of those 4 games. So with these next couple games coming up, you gotta be looking at them to kind of figure out what has been going wrong throughout those first 2 games, fix it, and advance to the Major 1 finals, because you really don't want to wait till the last moment. No matter how good you are, anything can happen in the FNCS.
That is right, but they're well on their way right now as far as pace is concerned. Let's take a look at Dracet, Beast, and Champo right now from, of course, their draw spot of the Demon's Dojo, mixing it on up. It's not looking too good right now as Nick is dropped here from this trio. Lix is trying to fight to his best abilities right now. Not looking good for Eddie either. He gets collapsed on first here. The finishes come in, but they're fighting back. Wait a second, Typhoon Blade. He's got something to say as he finds 2 and a 3rd, and all of a sudden now, things start to even out here. It's a 1v1. What?
Peanut butter and jelly, spaghetti and meatballs, Eddie and the Typhoon Blade, all things that just go together, because he's seemingly finding a lot of success when he's in these close range battles, able to get the Siphon, HP back up, using the minis, and now ends up in a 1v1 where he knows his teammate is weak. He knows his teammate is scared because he has the Typhoon Blade and Champo doesn't. He gets into the box and gets the elimination.
I can't believe he just did that. That's a 3-piece pickup, essentially, full-on clutching here. And you know what? You got to give respect to Lix as well. He hits the shot that matters, too, to find his trade in those moments. And I had them counted out. I'm not even going to lie. I thought it was over, but things change just that quickly. Jumping on with Death, Encrypted, and Sales here. They have moved out of the Kappa Kappa factory here, now going north as the zone's kind of playing this outskirts. So this is part of the rotate here to Cap Metal. Oh, nice little find there. He's going to have options for the Oni mask now.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping, because you saw Sales, he doesn't have any rotation. Don't really know about Encrypted and Death. Got to have and imagine at least one of them, but with another team moving in.
Oh,
and he thought he was going to be a safe reboot. You can see it's already been charged. His teammates end up back having to watch him try to clutch up. And with this full trio here, it's not like they're going to be able to disengage on out easily.
Magic Moss becoming such a hot spot. Eddie misses the shot that matters most right there. And now he tries to escape, but he gets caught, trapped in the cone by Tony, and then fully finished there. It's sad to see Magic Moss has become such a hot zone for all these trios, and even the other teams rotating in now. Yamzo, Clix, Batman, Booga want their fair share of the action. They find Zeus there with the ambush.
Yeah, I feel like the situation they were in last game, low on Surge, having to fight box to box, where they're being a little bit more proactive in this game. Probably helping by the zone as we tune down in Bryce and Reet. It's kind of standard game plan. They thought they were going to be contested, but now that they are uncontested, they get that whole mountaintop where you see two players already positioned, and then Vert's going to be able to further move out and try to get what loot is left on over. Kind of trusting in his team. We talked about different roles, but his team's roles right now in this stage of the game is to simply get as much Surge as possible.
And look at this. Although Clix, Yamzo, and Batman Booga may feel like they have themselves a clean 3v3 here, little do they know, Andrew, Jing, and that trio is just listening nearby. Seems like they're going to decide to rotate out, taking what little bit of damage that they found there as a W. Clix even greeting a couple heal ticks there, wasting no time. And now off they go. A lot of material invested for a quick little skirmish that went down there. And you would have thought they would have got the knock onto Zeus, but seems like he managed to find his way out.
Yeah, interesting to see where they're going to get their metal from. Where they land, there's not a ton of metal in that location. They typically kind of loot for it elsewhere or just find those eliminations early on. But from one fight that disengaged to one that's underway, Walker's trying to break into the box. He knows he has the pressure there. He knows his teammates are there as well. They find one elimination, quickly clean that one up, grab all the loot that they can before they reset this position. They might not necessarily disengage right away, but they want to make sure that they have eyes and awareness on all their enemies.
That's what experienced teams do very well here. Fighting together, targeting and focusing the right teams at the right times. Walker's 20 and Larson definitely have, I would say, the experience advantage over the trio that they're going head-to-head with at the Bird here. And teams rotating in from behind as well. Walker's very much aware, it seems, that there might be trouble behind them.
Especially with the zone rotating in this direction. They got to be very, very careful about where they're going to rotate in from next. It is going to pull towards the north, so at least they have that going from them. Visual Braids, I did see in the feed that they did get that elimination onto Collazo. Only one so far, so they know that duo is still underneath them in Foxy Floodgate, trying to plan how they're going to get the reboot. And Foxy Floodgate isn't the most friendly place to get a reboot, because you see how that full trio is outlined from the dam to the mountains next to it. That's an easy beam on anybody getting rebooted down at the Floodgate.
Definitely, and those pickups, they mean a lot. The points, of course, are gonna matter. Let's jump in though with Kaz, Exoff. Let's see what's it looking like with this trio here, as they have another team right on top of them. Leading to some degree with eliminations this game already. 4 elims. How did that go about? They came into this battle with 3. End up finding one on the outskirts there. The full-on drop onto Sykes. He had no idea he was swinging around the side there. Meanwhile, Aiden Hound moving quickly out of the Demon's Dojo, not looking to play outside the map right now, opting for a more central position here. Oh, look at this. They're going to be turning in the Water Sprite there for the boon.
Yeah, at least get the recharge. Because it also replenishes those uses if you used it early on, whether you're just trying to get as much damage as you can for Surge, or just simply trying to rotate and becoming the target of that. And with this zone pulling in this direction, it does look like a lot of the teams are believing it's going to go towards the west, up towards the north side of the map. You see Magic Mosses, you see Flooded Frogs just on the outskirts, and that's where they're putting a lot of their attention in this early game.
So far, Higher, Hound, and Aiden have played very, very well, have seeded themselves up towards the top 3. Jumping in with Braids visuals in a minute here. It's a team that is very well versed with one another here, duoed together for a long time, now looking to pair up as a full-on trio. We should be able to see them beat this team here. They have the advantage and definitely the aggression here. Take a look at that. Jumps right in onto Pyam, and it seems like these are some of their old builds as well, so mistakes were made. The trio rotating through their builds.
Trying to look at me, I do believe that Solo was able to get on out. But it's not over just yet, because if he has any opportunity here, he has to go back down towards the south. So what that solo player here behind the tree is banking on right now, he's hoping for the farthest north pool in the history of the game. So that way everybody has to rotate towards the north, give them an opportunity to go into the storm while it's not doing too much damage. But he has to survive this first.
Raze wants to farm this tree. Oh, the shotgun shot comes out. I was wondering if he was going to wait a second there, but no. Tries to take the opportunity into his own hands, and unfortunately couldn't even get the exchange there. And it cost Diminished Braids and Visuals a lot of damage, but it's worth it as they get the points there.
They dropped him down to just 11 HP. Just a couple more seconds in his solo fight, man. That would have been his, but his teammates there. 20 Walkers, Larson from the eastern side of the map. Gotta hope these guys have a lot of HP on them, or at least a fishing rod to try to replenish a lot of the HP that they're losing, staggering themselves back into the zone. And this is a sacrifice we see all too often. You know, take the damage that the storm is going to do, try to get as much surge, and then rotate in front of that team, knowing you can consistently try to look back and get that damage.
We've seen Tarum crazy now in Recco right now. In a bad situation before, but I don't think they've ever been this bad coming this late into the game. It's from the hands of Larson, Walkers, and 20. Again, this is very much a finalist quality trio who's been into many, many finals in the past. Curve, Shadow, and Tyler also meeting that caliber, that expectation. They're sitting at the Magic Mollusks. Remember, this is the Flooded Frogs team, right? So we expect them to come in fully loaded every single time, and that's exactly what their build is looking like.
Yeah, I expect them to have that void boon where you get a knock. Kind of like that shakedown vid was talking about, where it marks nearby enemies. Even if they're not on the trio that you knock, which makes it such a good asset to have. As Sync's one of the ones that goes down. Jing's just running around. He's trying to save the day. You saw him grab the body, trying to bring it back. Even Andro was there, but we definitely know how that one ended.
Looking back at some of Larson's history, it wasn't until just a couple days ago he was still looking for a trio for the FNCS. So in the final moments, things seem to come together with folks that he knows. Happy to see them find a success right now.
Hey, they're just banking on the zone continuing to pull towards the north. I don't necessarily disagree with this plan. It all really depends on how much surge you've been able to accumulate up until this stage in the game, because you don't want to have to leave your spot to try to hunt for surge elsewhere when you've already set up. Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo doing the same thing, but we've already seen them multiple times throughout this game. Trying to hunting around players for surge, not necessarily getting into those risky early game fights, but doing just enough to stay ahead of the curve.
I thought we expect them to play finals as well. A couple games away from seeing them be sent there, should they stay consistent enough. Ooh, look at this, the arena starting to pop, and this is just above Hound and Eden. We've seen a lot of aggression out of this team. Yeah, I was gonna say, I wouldn't doubt for them to go straight for it. Oh, Yamzo and team though, find tags all on this trio the moment they void Oni mask out.
And yeah, luckily for Hound and Aiden, there's a lot of barrels, free loot. On this side of the map, you see 3 of them there. I know there's a couple more scattered around the different islands, so it's not going to take them too long to try to get their shield and HP back up. Start to put work on that boss. Get that Wanderer's Medallion. You can already see they already got the Demon's Dojo. Oni Mask. So that one's a good part of their rotational tool. And now that they have the high ground monster, they shouldn't have to worry about Surge either.
You can see this is the advantages of course, taking the boss on in trios. You can melt them pretty quickly should they all focus fire, but even then it takes some time, all right? This is not, you know, a quick elimination onto the boss by any means. Still takes a little bit of time in order to do that, but no one wanted to come on up here. They're gonna have this full island to themselves right now.
It's a good spot right now in zone 2, kind of in the center. You see Clix' team on the mini-map towards the top left, but they're taking advantage of the team that's rotating in from Brutal Boxcars. Trying to pad as much damage as can. They got some extra shields on top of the ones already there due to the boss that they just taken down. So trading Surge doesn't look like a bad option for me.
Meanwhile, It's more chill here at the Flooded Frogs for Shadow, Curve, and Tyler. They go back to their trusty box. They've continued to fish, and this is, you know, I would say becoming the meta, right? Like, really has risen in popularity, fishing early into the game to secure yourself a plentiful set of shield fish here.
I believe it's like a 50% rate of getting a shield fish from fishing, something around those lines, and that's why you see it kind of popularized. You've got a lot of the teams saving at least one item slot for the fishing rod. On the other side, see a whole fight breaking down between two teams, but there's still two more teams outside of that on the outskirts, and even one more all the way towards the south watching this. So as much as this might seem like a straight up 3v3, it's so risky, it's so dangerous, you got to be careful, and that's where you see Mason go down. He's the first one to drop. Chance wall to wall with 20. Larson on the other side. This is not the best spot to be in, but if you're doing damage like that, it might as well be.
It's the second time Chance, Mason, and Donnie go back-to-back fighting Walkers in trio. So far, Walkers does have the knock lead here, but Chance is looking to settle the score right now. Another team looking inwards. This is not looking hot right now for 20 Larson and Walkers. We've expended a lot of heals and now starting to run low on material. Meanwhile, Chance gets the sandwich going from the other side, but the new trio is still firing in. Somehow, they're going to play to pick up Larson here. And it's actually that team that was on the outskirts, Niall and team, who were looking extremely worse for wears. They're likely sensing the blood and water here, right? Thirsty for these elims, but things start to settle now.
That's why you just can't get caught off guard, especially with a tough rotation to go on top of this. So surviving this isn't going to be enough. 20 Walkers and Larson saving grace as they find themselves 536 above the damage threshold. They just need to simply focus on their rotation in, which sounds easier said than done because there's at least 3, 4, 5 teams next to you trying to make that same play.
Yeah, they got to get to a river. They got to start fishing here. 20 has that fishing rod. All the other teams have long gone now as they're focusing on the rotate, but Larson, 20, and Walkers there are definitely feeling the pressure of the fight. Meanwhile, Vert, Bryce, and Reet chilling here at the Brutal Boxcars. This is their drop, of course. The advantages of just being able to hang out, farm surge from the high ground is definitely taking its part here. You can tell because they're 800 above.
Yeah, this is one of the most decorated teams. You can see the quick stat there. They've all played 12 or more grand finals. They have a total of 48 finals appearances as a team. One of the most experienced team in the lobby with 800 damage above the surge. They've pulled yet another zone as well. They're giving themselves option here as this game continues.
Here's the thing, Vert's seen the championship. Reed's been there, right? This is the only team in the lobby actually here in Group 1 that has a decorated FNCS championship under their belt. Talking about this team right here, though, Now and Recco, like I said, when we jumped in with them before, they were just out of the fight completely. It seems like they've lost a teammate in the process, but just struggling to kind of stay in the game, find that silver lining. They're going for the super wide rotate, so this is going to be a huge disruptor, I would say, to the lobby right now, but moving straight into potentially Batman Booga's trio there.
Another elimination gets cleaned up as we tune in to Tony, Zeus, and Creon. Getting it in the zone as well, just under the Shogun's Arena, right above them. Where we know that one team's already positioned up. A few more on the outskirts making their way over towards Brutal. And this is where you gotta start thinking in your head. It moves over towards Brutal. If it continues to go towards the east, a little bit towards the south, we're gonna have those mountain ranges that we saw just like that last game.
Not even mad at those mountain rangers. They have given us a very interesting end game so far, keeping us completely on our toes, man. You just don't know where things are going to go at that point. Surprised we got a well-behaved water spray here. Let's see if it takes off running like usual. Only 55 above for Hound and Aiden. This is about the worst we've seen them.
Yeah, I almost got to think it's got to be something with the loadout. The Veiled SMG doesn't do a ton of damage. I believe I saw maybe a Fury on the other side and maybe one Hollow Twister. So you're kind of banking on one teammate to get the majority of your damage, especially when you kind of separate yourself so far from the rest of these teams, and now they're 71 below, and this is where in their mind they're gonna have to make that decision. Do I go box fight a team for Surge or continue to try to play the game plan that hasn't worked so far?
And it's so unfortunate because they have this ultimate positioning right now over the lobby, and they're gonna have to give it up. Yep, look at this entire team punished. Surge is now completely active. They're gonna have to full splash up, and still no big opportunities have presented themselves just yet here. And they're trying to weather the storm right now, quite literally here.
Choosing to out heal as much of the damage as possible. Holding on to their position above. Oh, finally, it does look like they're going to try to make their way down, and they have to orb their way down there because you saw what happens otherwise. They run right into another team, but Hound's going down. Aiden's going to follow. High R's just left by himself, and there's no heals, but at least his teammates did their job. They're 4 damage above the threshold.
Yeah, that's not going to be enough. This just means that another team picks up the pressure here. They find a tag, and look at that. Sets them right back into the same situation he was in before. Now, granted, he's got some extra heals left over here, so he will be able to play for something here. It's a glimmer of hope stays alive, but it's going to be only a matter of time here. But hey, you know what? He might actually rat his way to placements. Oh.
He could. The only thing that
looking like
it's going to be a long game if that's his plan, because placement points haven't really even begun to set in just yet, but at least he's trying to give himself an opportunity. You see him moving back on over to Island, trying to get as much of the loot that was left behind, and especially since every single team is stuck down below him, and because of the wind tunnels that they don't want to take those towards the high ground, it's going to be Mask and Typhoon Blades as a way of rotation for everybody.
There it is. The movement starts to come out. Zone's popping its way back towards the Magic Mosses. And if you're on the backside, you are late to the party at this point, so Oni Mask can be the best way to, of course, get across here. Steph, Kyan, and Verge are on the way right now. Right behind the trio they go. Ooh, you can
saw that, right?
Also, yep. He has the boon there.
Thanks for that crash from Aiden and Howard.
Mm-hmm.
I almost would like to have seen them utilize that just a little bit more, but hey, one team trash is another team's treasure. They can definitely use that, especially if they get separated in a solo clutch situation. As Yamzo, Batman, Booga, and Clix continue to try to make their way into the front side of the zone. They usually want to be one of the first teams there, claim space, and be able to do just this. Look back and try to cause chaos to anybody's game.
They found themselves in this spot multiple times. This is the best we've seen them, though. The most amount of material we've seen them this late into the game. Not even depending on a refresher. Meanwhile, High are waiting to the very literal last minute here before he leaves off the high ground positioning. Even waiting for the late Oni Mask rotate. Meanwhile, Clix, Yamzo, Batman, Booga trying to find their way into a layer. Braids was going to be the team of choice there, but he ended up spotting them out here.
And this is what kind of Vivid was alluding to in the pre-show. Because of trios, you can really pack a punch, break through, whether it's brick or metal, in a matter of seconds, and try to get that piece, especially on a team that might not necessarily see it coming. But another pull for a lot of these guys, and you can see quickly being acted. Zeus trying to connect on the other side. Tony, Creon, they're the ones that have the high ground. The connection is going to be secured, so shooting them down is going to be a tough challenge.
This is going to be insane game either way for Creon, Zeus, and Tony, who have 8 eliminations, climbing their way out of the pits of the standings here, really showing you that one big game can put you up in conversation for a finals run. 600 plus damage above the threshold here, nothing for them to worry about. All metal has been put to the use here. The question will be, was it too early? We'll just have to find out here.
Every point this game, you see on the bottom right, Higher as a solo, every point this game will be thanks to him. He's gotten some placement points so far. You look at his materials, it's looking pretty healthy, especially considering that he is a solo. Extra mass. The only big worry for him is that HP, but if he can find a way to sneak an elimination, Higher might be the MVP of this game if he can come out with a good placement.
He's actually insane for playing this second height right now, given that there's a full situated trio right up above.
Oh my.
Oh yeah. He is just holding on right now. Meanwhile, Creon, Tony still looking their way back and forth here. Zones continuing to push through Magic Mosses on out. This is going into brand new territory, so for every team, they're going to have to start to get to building here shortly. Meanwhile, Encrypted peeks up to the high ground, and he might have just delivered Tony and Cruz some mats there. We'll find it out. Clicks, Batman, Booga, Iamzo find their way into Pilot's trio. Down goes Pilot. He didn't stand a chance against the Shock and the Clicks there.
And this is what they do. They just completely avalanche their way through teams one after the next, until they find themselves in that tough situation. Batman Booga looking toward the backside of the zone. High are the solos, still figuring out a way to slip his way through, but it's this dangerous and risky situation. Luckily for him, Sales and Death on the other side. They cause a distraction that cost them everything. They go down and they get separated, leaving Death as a solo.
Pulling the rug right from under the feet of each of these trios, as now they're looking to high ground. Clicks, Batman Booga, and of course Iamzo are likely to be looking to set themselves up for a win 3 games in, and they haven't gone for height just yet. If this team across from them stops giving them their attention, they might be able to make a play here, but no. Clips Iamzo, drop down a layer, find a side angle on the team. They're just pushing their way through Curve and Tyler there. It's a successful push, but doesn't turn into elimination just yet.
This is like poetry in motion. They dropped down because high ground was focusing him. They still figured out a way to make it work, getting the elimination. One going down, but it's not going to scare them just yet. They have to figure out how they're going to win this, but Clicks, he's now stuck as a duo along with Iamzo. Batman Booga is down, out. Mats are quickly running out as well. They need a miracle here in order to stay alive.
They don't have any mats though. Clicks just has to continue to fight back. I'm not even sure if this is worth the pickup right now, but they're going to go for it. 3 alive. All back in the game right now. They decide, you know what? We want Batman Booga in the game right now. Meanwhile, Iamzo does have that invisibility from sprinting there. You can see it ends up finding his way into a layer. He is so hard to keep track of. Braids has no idea where he is, where the shots are coming from, and Iamzo is turning online right now. Finally now, has material, has mats, Clicks, in all that chaos, ends up falling first. And now, 3 teams remaining. Of course, the trio up top, and just Iamzo, Batman Booga, and Vert in the mix.
Yeah, that medallion is a difference maker right here. As hard as it might be, they still have to get through Vert first. That one's easy. 2v3 situation. Iamzo and Batman Booga on the low ground, but they have that medallion. The team's going to finally drop down. They have the win condition as well if it does come down to heal off, but they need to be very, very careful when they give up those siphons because they're changing layers. Batman Booga has the high ground. Iamzo gets dropped. 1v3 situation. Gets the knock on to Tony. He goes down to his teammates. He's trying to get the siphon. Batman Booga gets it just in time. Trying to stay alive. Moves to the backside of the zone, but only for so long. He has to try to go on the offensive with the Typhoon Blade. He's trying to make magic happen. Almost gets a knock, but it's just too late. Zeus and Creon hold on to clutch the game.
With 16 eliminations as well, doing it in such a ridiculous fashion. They have dusted this entire lobby right back to the next battle bus. And just like that, Batman Booga kept it interesting for us, but what a win and what a way to close out game number 3 there, Jacob.
Yeah, Creon, Zeus, Tony. It was just kind of an easy, simple game from them. As soon as they were able to get high ground, they had nobody contest them, no reason to look back, especially when Encrypted goes down and just, hey, here's some more loot, man. You guys are doing a good job. Make sure you keep it. And they just kind of solidified and played this last situation perfect. Iamzo gets dropped first, 3v1 situation. You even got the Bob going down there for a quick moment as just Creon bounces around trying to avoid the Typhoon Blade with another team making it to the Major 1 finals when 2 games left. We got to throw it to our analyst to let us know what these teams have to do different.
What do we do different? We let these guys out of the lobby. We push them to finals. How do we deal with that? 16 eliminations and just the way that these guys were fighting in every single step of that last zone, just hip to hip. Anytime they get aggressed, they go together. They try and like force these fights into their favor. So well executed from the trio. And to think that kind of stopping power is going straight to finals. I don't know how we deal with that, friends. I don't know what we do. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, this is something that actually I kind of expected out of Zeus, Creon, and Tony during one of the more recent performance evaluations where only 4 teams can get victory royales. They were actually one of the teams that was able to claim a victory royale in the most recent performance evaluation. So to see them grab another victory royale today, and especially in the way that they did it, where they held height, were the first team of the day for North America to kind of hold height from the beginning and continue that on. I'm glad to see that they're able to keep that performance going from the performance evaluations.
Yeah, one of those situations, right, where we looked up, we got the POV of this team, and they've just got double floors, double cones across all of the moving zones. They had so many eliminations actually going into the moving zones that they could just afford to do that, which is why we're actually, see the first team able to actually hold height throughout the rest of the game. Kind of got a little dicey there at the end, though, with Batman Booga on the other side of the 1v2, but they ended up closing it out.
It's wild that like in a situation where like Batman Booga and Iamzo are not there, then we can look to contest high ground, right? But the moment that you've just got Iamzo running around invisible on your layer or on the low ground, all bets are off. All bets are off. We'll discuss more of that in just a minute. First, a quick little break, then we'll be back with more action from the FNCS. Welcome back, everyone, to the FNCS. Game number 3 is all wrapped up. Only 2 games left to go on the day, and I hate that that's the case because I want to watch more Fortnite, but we'll just live in this while we can. The Victory Royale already happened, going over to Creon, Zeus, and Tony. 16 elims in case you missed that. But let's break down what else we saw in that last game. I want to highlight, once again, going back to Iamzo there. This guy just looks like a different beast. When you give him that medallion, being able to just have that infinite sprint, he's literally changing layers moment to moment while invisible. Like, you just don't have time to react. You're like, everything's fine, I'm in a safe zone, and then suddenly Iamzo's just there shooting you in the back of the head with like 150 damage. And you're like, bro, what am I supposed to do, Iamzo? Stop!
I am loving this Iamzo that we're seeing. Don't get me wrong, Iamzo and Rise were an incredible duo throughout the last few years. They've been really consistent, played together for a long time. But I just feel like the energy and vibes that we're getting from this trio is bringing Iamzo to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, Iamzo, though, just put on such a clinic right now. Has the most eliminations out of the trio right now. And another interesting stat that I was kind of looking at is that Iamzo also has the most amount of builds placed in everybody that's been playing today, right? And then there's also talks like, you know, Iamzo's the IGL of the trio. So right now, you know, do with what that information what you will. All of it kind of points to Iamzo is having one heck of a day, and it is putting the Clix, Batman, Bugha, and Iamzo trio right now in first place on that consistency leaderboard, already at 221 points.
Yeah, you say that it's first place, but Zeke, there's a number 4 next to them. No. Yeah, no, listen, it's because they're doing so well that they keep putting themselves up, and that, you know, now that we have 3 teams that have moved through, that puts them in the 4th position. But seriously, Clix, Batman, Bugha, Iamzo, they're playing so differently than what we saw in the play-ins right now, and I'm wondering if that's kind of causing an issue in their play style. They did struggle a little bit with Storm Surge in game number 3, so that could be a possible reason as to why we're not seeing them get the victory royale. But as far as I can tell, obviously the math isn't fully done yet. I think it's safe to say that this trio has made their way into the grand finals through consistency.
Yeah, and I think as well, something to note on the fact that with now 2 end games, we've seen Clix get focused out, right? We've had these guys by themselves as just to do in the situations. If all 3 of these members are left alive, then you can just let Iamzo off the leash, right? Just, hey, go hyper aggressive. But when you're just a duo in that situation, it's just left off to Batman Bugha, right? Like, okay, I have to 1v3 while Iamzo's changing layers and trying to just one-pump everyone he can. Okay, you know, like a different situation there if Clix is left alive. In 9th place, though, we did also want to highlight Bryce there. These guys are also in that striking range. They still have 2 games left to go to make sure they end in that top 5. They've had a few slip-ups on the day, but like, you know, we're starting to come online, it feels like.
Yeah, and they definitely have everything that they need to kind of set themselves up for success, landing over at boxcars. You can see that they have the Mythic AR there, and controlling the low ground seems to be causing a few issues where they just don't have the awareness that they need to keep all 3 players alive to the very end. But they only need a few more points, another high-placing game to kind of push themselves up into that top 5.
Yeah, I mean, this trio is actually placed better every single game as it goes on, so hopefully they're able to kind of continue with that trend. And we kind of love to talk about experience, especially when it comes to Fortnite competitive. There's actually 2 trios combined for the most experience if you look at total FNCS finals amongst the trio, and that tie is actually going to be between Clix, Batman, Bugha, Iamzo, and then Reet, Bryce, and Vert. Both of those trios have a combined 48 total FNCS finals appearances, and the following trio behind them only has 28. That is how big that gap is right now in experience.
And because I'm contractually obligated to talk about Reed as much as I can, he actually has the most FNCS finals appearances out of any player here. And that might be due to the fact that he's coming from NA West, then moved over to NA Central, where now it's kind of split up a bit. But he obviously has a great, I'm loving this team. You know, it used to be Bryson Bolts and Reed and Ritual, where they would kind of fight each other back in Chapter 5. And to see them kind of group up together now in a similar POI, I think that there's something working there. They just need to work out a few more kinks.
That's right. That's right. Look, it's fine, right, Kelly? We have 2 games. Anything can happen. Let's see how this all shakes out. MDF, Jacob PR, take it away.
Thank you so much, Zeke, and that's right. I mean, I'm looking at the drop that just opened up. Pumped Power, right? Magic Moss's team winning. Nearly taking out Demon's Dojo team winning, but all of a sudden, this entire northern area, Jacob, seems to be shaking up.
Yeah, it definitely is opening up a lot of different opportunities. We've seen it after game number 1. Immediately, teams are switched up these drops. And the power plant, that's good. There's a lot of meta. I talked about the lack of that material throughout different portions of the map. If a team chooses to switch on over here, they'll be able to get some valuable resources that they might not have had in these earlier games. But it's going to be ready for game number 4. Time is winding down, so let's get into it.
Couldn't agree more, Jacob. Game number 4 is underway. Group 1 has given us a very, very eventful evening, but mostly because Clicks and company still remain in the fight. Reets and Trio are still in the fight here, and other teams that we expect to do well are in the conversation as well. And you know what? The standings are starting to get down to the wire now as we're looking at the performing teams and the points there. It might not even go down for Reed, Bryce, and Vert here to a win. It might come down to them just staying a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, you can see that the trio that they're going up against here over Touch Demon's Dojo. Game number 1, they landed on the outskirts of the mountain. As each game passes, they realize their position on the leaderboard. They're getting more and more risky, and that's sometimes something that you have to do. Try to take a risk, and hopefully it pays off later in the game, because this is a good amount of loot, and they're together as a team, unlike some of the games before.
Yeah, this almost feels desperate from Beast, Champo, and Jercept here, as they've only got 12 points. This puts them down at the bottom half of the standing here overall for team performances. 8 and higher have had a much more successful Demon's Dojo run, given that they've not only secured the mythical Oni mask and the upgrades, of course, that drop here from the boss, but more importantly, have made it off drop every single game so far in the first 3. Now, with slim chances left, teams like Beast and Champo may just have to pull a Victory Royale out or be sent back to the next stage.
Yeah, outside of a Victory Royale, it almost seems like a couple of top 3s, top 2s with multiple eliminations, which is definitely possible. We just seen, what, 16 eliminations in that last game?
Oh, yeah.
It's just something that you don't want to just have to bank on, especially with game 4 being right now, and then game 5, the last game of the day, coming up next.
Clipsianzo, Batman Booga taking it into their own hands to rotate north last game out of the Lost Lake, and it seems like we might be seeing the same type of strategy come into place here as the team starts to spread out a bit right now.
Kind of standard. They got a lot of the elemental chests around them. A lot of the teams around them as well, probably looting up, so there's no real rush for them to try to get that surge, because they know depending on where the zone goes or where it pulls very, very early on, that really dictates their path and where they're going to rotate to try to get as much damage so they don't have to fight for it later.
It does look like a lot of trios do tend to stay at their drops nowadays, as opposed to quick rotating. That's just the nature of trios, I guess, though. Bigger teams, more to loot. Really want to scrap it down dry.
Seeing a lot of teams around the lobby. Some having some really good games early on. Others kind of faltering as the day has went on. This team right here, they started off with high hopes as 2nd place with 11 elims. Then the following game after, 15th place with 7, and then a 10th place with 1. They are in a good standing in terms of the leaderboard, but if they continue to have that same trajectory, they're going to be one of those last game wonders, hoping they really make it to the Major 1 finals.
Look at what we've been seeing out of this trio right here. We're giving you guys the full update on all of our top position teams right now, Curve, Tyler, and Shadow. We expected to likely pull through with the Victory Royale. This is the strongest drop, arguably, available on this Fortnite Chapter 6 right now. The Flooded Frogs, with all the additions here now, really set this team apart. But this is all going to be short-lived. This is just a Group 1 fantasy world we're living in right now, given that it's a very much limited lobby. Come finals, you start seeing the likes of Peterbot and team next week. We'll see how everything starts to change up.
I will say, for any team that doesn't get a Victory Royale, that doesn't get into that top 5, luckily for them, their season isn't going to be over. There's still that last chance qualifier that they'll be able to run through and try to give them hope. But I call this the golden opportunity, because instead of getting 5 games in your group, you get 3 games. It's win and you're in. That's the only opportunity. So you don't want to wait for that to come along to really play your best Fortnite.
I like what we're seeing right now, though. Vert with the ambush. Bryce likely playing the high ground position here. This is on Kira, Hefe. Little closer, and they'll have a full-on box out. Oh, yeah, it's not looking good for Hefe Bob here. Oh, the double shotgun connects, and the full finish there But no, it's just Re-invert here, so that couldn't be a better team for them to go ahead and set this one up for now. They've kind of evened the playing field for themselves here, and sometimes you just do pull the shorter end of the stick here, and it seems like for Re-invert, they're just trying to make do with what they got.
Oh, this is a big game for Re-invert too. They're just on the cusp. They're on the cusp. If they don't win, they want to make it as far as possible, and maybe one of those teams above them in the bubble go ahead and qualify, but they already got that first elimination. Even with another team trying to threaten and throw them off guard, they're still figuring out a way to get aggressive, continuously pushing forward, and they've separated that player as a solo. Big elimination for them. That's their second one already in the books.
Big elimination right there. Good damage as well. And off they go. No plans to fight another full trio like this out in the open if they don't have to. Using those very precious Oni mask charges there. It's going to be super worth at this point. Look at Bert just looking around. Trying to see if they can catch some cheeky tags. Nicely done there. Kind of bending back into things.
We started this game with about a 24-point lead over that last spot. Bonzo. This is the team that was kind of thinking about contesting them over towards Brutal Boxcars. Good to see them start to get an elimination. Visuals is back up. Braids and Diminish doing a good job claiming Foxy. This is where teams normally get their metal and a lot of their material. But since they're all down here, my real wonder is how they're going to get back up and get in a position to get Surge.
We think about this leaderboard right here. Clicks in 221 points. Visuals, Braids, and Diminish trailing just behind at 209. You can see the huge gap. And things start to really fall off here. So a lot of teams will have to play catch up. If you're up inside the top 4 right now, we should say, you're basically leading very well. The other 3 spots, of course, secured to those that won those games 1 through 3. So not too bad for our teams up at the top.
Does look like we're going to have another zone, though, pulling towards the south. So for them, some of those teams that usually get their surge in this fashion, fighting on the northern side of the zone overall, you want to be able to get that surge fighting as much as possible and as quick as possible, because if the zone continues to pull south even from here, that's where you're going to have a hard time finding your position in towards the zone, because so many other teams will already have beat you on that pathing.
Oh, Clicks is hurt. Yamzo, no HP either. They're still in the storm right here. This is very tough situation for them to be in. Or from their drop, rotating far to the west coast right now. I mean, they've already caught an elimination off this team here. That man Booba looking for scraps here. Can he find his players out in the open, though? Seems like they've lost track of them, and they're just going to give it up. Jacob, that's looking a little worse for wear right now for team favorite.
Yeah, almost shades and flashbacks of the couple earlier games we have where they were actually down on Surge, having to fight for it time and time again later on in the same game. And that's why I see them kind of chasing these teams outside of zone. They're moving towards their west. So hopefully with all these teams that landed there already moving in towards the center of that zone, they're hoping after they get the Surge, maybe they can get a spot in towards zone. But everybody else kind of doing something similar.
A little bit of a play here from Death, encrypted in sales right now, playing a little bit of this low ground, trying to rotate, but Ayo, KD's got the high ground right now, shooting his way on down. Nice little angle for him to play here. Things are really starting to settle down right now. It seems like teams are picking up the pace here. And you can really tell when desperation starts to set in. More and more teams find themselves playing the outer edges. It becomes more and more difficult in the late games to rotate freely around these outskirts. But with a win condition format, anything can happen. That's probably what keeps most of the teams grounded at this point.
Over towards Mass. One of the team that won today won from Mass Meadows, but it was a triple contested drop. So instead of a spot just opening up, just some of the pressure alleviated for some of the teams that are still there. Some of which might be in this fight, but you see a couple more on the outskirts, some on the western part of that mountain, some on the south part of Mass Meadows, while everything's breaking down here, just trading back and forth, just trying to give themselves an upper hand in this fight, which nobody's feeling confident enough to go just yet. They realize with only 2 games left, there's a lot of risk, and is it worth this reward?
Yeah, I definitely agree that this might be a little bit sketchy for a team like Lures, who's got 60 points already, so they're not out of the question for a top 5. If they can make an end game here, this is a very, very risky battle, though. If they lose this now, they'll put themselves in a position where they have to win a game, sort of like Cricket, Smoked, and Nox may have to do. Already, team was wiped here by Smoked, Cricket, and Nox. So confidence is up top. Look at this. Other trios are watching in the distance.
This is just a tough situation to be in because, as you said, others are watching this all play out in the distance. No matter what happens here, win, lose, or just disengage, all these other teams are already going to have rotated, picked their spot, and you have a chance to really look back. And while all that is going on, you also aren't being able to refarm, aren't being able to use your resources, and since you're taking damage, you're using a lot of the heals that you need later on in the game.
Yep, we do see that happen all the time. Take the wrong fights, and a lot of times it just does come down to decision making, and that's why preparation is super key. Look at this, Reinvert still finding opportunities. When we last tuned in, they had 2 eliminations. They're about to make it 4 now, as they've just caught X off here, and someone catches the finish. So Reet doesn't care. He wants to secure the elim. He wants to get those mats as well. And look at this. This dude had heals for days on a big pot shieldfish and even some mobility to work with, but he's probably going to be content with what he's got here. Oni Mask is really all you need at this point, and surely they have enough damage now as far as making it to endgame is concerned. Meanwhile, Clixiamzo and Batman Boog. Okay, so from the outskirts in the zone, looking truly worse for wears, now into another team fight. What are they doing differently here that makes them want to fight in the mid game? All of today, Jacob, we've seen them make it to endgame with 0 elims, but now they've seen more aggressive than ever.
I think it's more so to do with the zone pull and to realize where they're at on the leaderboard. They really have a lot less to lose than a lot of the other teams here in this lobby. They have all but their spot already secured, so they're just trying to get aggressive for their Storm Surge, because I referenced the game earlier on where it was, I think, 6th zone, maybe 7th zone. They were down on Surge, having to fight for it, and when everybody's in that close proximity, you don't want to leave it to just fighting and having to pre-P somebody for Surge. So I actually like what I'm seeing out of Clix, Batman, Boog, and Yamzo, getting aggressive, trying to control as much of their destiny as possible.
That's right. I mean, with over 220 points now, they should be near impossible to topple over as far as making it to finals is concerned. So from here on out, it's all uphill. We're just riding away, but Reinvert can't be said the same of, as they only have 126 points, which puts them very much at the, I'd say the bare minimal, right, of where you want to be at the current moment. Ooh, big shots coming in. Look, when we first saw Reed just a couple moments ago, he had 3 big pods. He's now down to none and just the shieldfish. This is not looking good. Vert and Reed have to back out here. It's against Ayo, Liam, and Toronto, and they're going for the chase here. Typhoon Blade in hand. Full health as well to work with, and oh no, Reed and company rotate right into Shadow, Tyler, and Curve's team. A very, very sound team out of the Flooded Frogs.
Yeah, you can see Reed all by himself now. Vert was taken down with less than 50 HP, trying to continue to separate himself. He's hoping almost that that other team does crash, be a distraction, give him an opportunity to get on out, because if he can sneak away Vert's reboot card where the zone's pulling, if he moves towards the north, that will be his opportunity to try to get it back. But it's all about survival here. Curve, Tyler, Shadow trying to go ahead and put pedal to the metal, get a little bit aggressive, not necessarily for the eliminations, but they loot that they know is down there.
Yeah, this is all of Vert's old gear right here. AOKD sitting right on top of right now. Tries to fire back, doesn't really find anything. It's almost a full reset at this point. I wonder what's going through the team comms right now of Ayo, Toronto, and Liam here, who've got the surge that they're looking for. Got plenty to work for an end game, but have insisted on sticking around Curve, Tyler, and Shadow a little too long, and they seem to not like that. They're giving them a lot of shots down here now as they're pushing them out of the drop.
And they started this game in 12th place on the leaderboard. You got to think that's around 7th place after their 5-game winners are already in the Major 1 finals. So they still have a point differential to overcome, and they need to keep in the back of their mind, they do not have to get desperate. This is only game 4. There is going to be a whole nother game left, and if they continue to play their cards right, they'll at least be in the bubble.
Mason Donnie chance here. I'm up top, and look, no one's come to the arena here.
Honestly, typically, I love the idea of going up there. You see a lot of our top teams in typical weeks, especially in the Division Cups, go up there, try to get it. But so far today, I haven't really seen going up there being a huge impact to the game. And a game prior, we saw Hayar and his trio go up there. Monster, they were down on Surge. They were forced to just kind of cannonball into another team, and they eventually got taken down for it. So I can see the shift with things not necessarily playing their way in terms of teams going up on that island to maybe go against it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? You go up there, and if you don't find the Surge tags, I mean, you can easily fall behind, given the unorthodox position, right? It's not something you can practice very consistently either.
No.
Andrew, though, Jing and Sin get pushed out of the lobby, falling to the hands of what seems to be Eddie and another trio nearby. So much going on here for teams staying outside the zone right now. We have way too many trios kind of entertaining this fight here. Take a look at the highlights here. Jacob, Eddie, ratting his way through the box, trying to see what's going on. Finds Sin there, who was distracted by another team, and that is exactly what can happen should you stay inside the storm for too long.
Almost seemingly got a taste of his own medicine with the Typhoon Blade. Luckily for him, hey, staying alive as a solo. It's all about the points here. With one more game left, anything can happen just like that. Walkers goes down. Larson 20 quickly trying to go and get it, but they close the distance quick. That's Blake, that's Cease, that's Jack. These are experts. They know how to take advantage of timing. Moving into the box, they have full control. 3v2, trying to force some players down and separated them once more. Down goes 20, down goes Walkers. Larson's left by himself.
And this is what makes Chapter 6 so exciting to watch. These Oni masks coming out into play here. You find the knock, you can find yourself being collapsed upon that quickly there. And look at Larson begging to escape now as he slides his way out from the side. But Jack, Cease, and Blake are going to be super happy about this. It looks like they find themselves 2 eliminations. Plenty of gear here to work their way through. And now they can focus on making a nice, easy rotate here. Other teams already shooting their Oni mask out as well. Cease, knowing better than to stick too close to them. He's going to go straight to beeline in to the new zone here.
I just saw on the feed too, I think Reed's down and out. They have to go again in that last game. Just the unfortunate thing is they got a good amount of eliminations for those points. It's just the placements. They don't start ticking into around top 17, so they got to sit and watch and hope any team below them on that leaderboard goes down earlier than they would hope themselves.
Clicks, Batman Boogan and Yamzo have the most damage done by any team here, and this game is really flexing it. Look at the takedown right here. Very well played, well executed.
$803. Good position in towards the center of the zone, opening up towards the north. Got at least one full team on the top of the island. Munker looking like he was kind of gliding his way through. He goes down. Another player, Kaz, goes down, trying to go for the elimination or gets it down onto Vibes. It's just a trades back and forth. That's what's going down in the sky. But down low, Clicks, Batman, Boo, and Yamzo consistently trying to claim space at the edge of these zones.
It's looking good right now. Just see what happens when Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo start to loosen up after they've kind of realized that they've done everything they needed to do as far as this format's concerned. And now they're just bringing it to the rest of the lobby here. Almost looking to be a runaway train here now. Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo might just be setting themselves up to win this game. That refresh there wouldn't surprise me now if they just put all their focus into high ground. Take a look from what's going on here for Curve, Tyler, and Shadow, though. They end up catching out Reed there. He held on for a long time, but not enough to get placement points there. And you saw the stat before. The qualification mark for EU was 173. That means Reed and company will need a 60, 70-ish point game. And that's if the points are even reflective. Similarly here for the NA region. So that's a huge ask for Revert and Ritual, Bryce. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're talking about it throughout the day so far and leaving it to the last and final game. Obviously, that's not the plan. That's just the situation that they're in. See visuals, Braves trying to take control down below. Eddie's finally spotted out. Luckily, he at least has Nyx there trying to stay alive, but they're just getting pushed left, right, different angles right now. Just seemingly too much for them to overcome. But thankfully, there's a whole nother third party that just works in the favor of Clix. Batman, Booga, and Yamso continuously able to catch Nyx off guard and solidify another elimination.
Yep, and it's the island team still shooting down from above, so Success that gives up that ultimate high positioning there. Come on down to Batman Booga's lair. And look at this. This puts them up at 7 eliminations. They're looking to drop a huge bomb this game right now. They're still working through. Into the edge of zone they go. Here comes the reset. Start setting themselves up. Void Oni mask him out. Still sticking to the outskirts, sticking to the congested areas. Not looking to get themselves isolated out. Meanwhile, fishing happening here for Hound and Aiden. I love what we've seen from this trio here. They've played really good Fortnite so far.
This is really thinking outside of the box. Just throwing it far down as possible. At Floppers, better than nothing. But Yamso and Clix, they lost Batman Booga, stuck as a duo. They already have 8 eliminations. Remember, their spot is all but secured, but you really want to prove that you're one of the top teams. Get that victory royale, which in turn would probably give another team down below them a secured spot. But only time will tell if they can make magic happen here as a duo.
Well, if there's a team that can do it, it's definitely this one right here, especially if they get to pick up some of the scraps here. So more material for Yamso and Clix. This is what happened, though. Amplified ends up bouncing his way into the box with the blades. His trio ends up getting some exchanges there. Meanwhile, Visuals, Braids, and Aminish on the move right now. First to get to the new zone here. Set up pretty comfortably, but a gray Sentinel shotgun. It's gonna be hard to work with, but Visual's gonna go for high ground. Up he goes. Metal's coming out. Another team ends up landing up above, and they're just full on looking to fight for this one. Aminish is up top as well, so Visuals, Braids, and Aminish are the first to secure high ground here, coming into zone 9 here shortly.
Yeah, that was Cease, Blake, and Jack that were looking like toying with the idea of contesting them for that high ground, but good for them. They at least got the front side of the zone. Everybody else is going to have to make their way there. Even that Solo on the outskirts by himself, just trying to survive, get as many points as possible, because at this stage in the game, the placement points are going to start rolling in.
That's what I expect of Tyler, Curve, and Shadow, though. Very experienced trio, teams that have played for years on end here and have just continued to show up finals after finals. Look at this rotate right here, taking full advantage of the Void Oni mask to get right in front here. And they're only just starting to use them now, so things have gone relatively well for them. Same can't be the set for Sales, who's out of this trio right now. Encrypted shots from the top as well. And this is where the pressure really starts to set in here. End game of Fortnite, it's what we all look forward to. This is what keeps us in the game, it's what keeps us hooked here. But it is also the most difficult to navigate, especially in a trio setting here.
That's tough. That is so tough. High ground, they're trying to orb to the front side of zone, but high ground picked them as their focus. It's not going to be easy. Clix, Yamso, they use that as a distraction. They make their way to the front side of zone. No real hard match for them to utilize. So the dangers around every team nearby is definitely going to be real.
Look at this. You got Blake, Cease, and Jack as well, pinching right behind Clix and Yamso, though they have to be careful. Shots are coming in. It's from that trio just there, and they find Clix. Yamso forced to ditch his teammate here. Typhoon Blade taking him straight across now. Meanwhile, Visual, Braids, and Aminish, no contestation for the team up top. Couple of teams looking to finally chop them down now, but does seem like they've secured themselves just enough time to go ahead and keep the pressure up here from up above. Meanwhile, Yamso just racking up points here on the low ground. Down goes Curve, and it's just all flex from this point on. Up he goes here.
This is big, bro. Yamso is just looking a little bit different on this trio. The IGL, the main star, he's everything that the team could hope for and more, picking up big points. But Tyler, Shadow, they're moving on the other side. Zone after zone, they find themselves on the back line. That elimination is big because now you get the siphon, you get the HP that you're losing, but Tyler finally goes down. It was Shadow who was getting all of that benefit, but it's finally run out, but not now. The second elimination comes through. Siphon, more time in zone. This could be his chance.
And his health is still ticking. He must have ate something there for a moment to keep him up in the game. This Siphon just keeping alive there ever so slimly. But hold up. Visual Braids diminished. All focus has to go on this team that might just be setting themselves up for a Game 4 win now. A single elimination. No refreshes found just yet. And this is what we talk about. You start to gas out come the end game if you can't find a refresh.
Yep, Preshow and Braze, one of those duos of the past that you know you can always count on to have a big moment. Now they add a Minish to the roster, and they're seemingly in the driver's seat for this game. Down below, gets a knock onto one. Him and Encrypted are doing everything that he can as a solo. Splashes coming out, and they have to choose a different rotation with his own pulling in. They only have a few seconds. They're trying to cut short. Opportunity at a flank, and a Blessing with his own cutback.
I'm thinking Visuals still has a full loadout. Water Sprite. Chug Splash is everything to work with. Death is going to fall down the low ground. And Minish actually falls too. Tries to jump down for the refresh. And that might just be the throw here. He might have just made the most critical mistake here for his trio now, leaving them as a duo. Mason still full trio there with Donnie on that mid-ground layer. I still see Cease and Blake in this game as well. Jack is knocked here. They've been the disruptors on the low ground. Can they take down Joshy and his entire team now? This is going to be a big moment now for Cease to prove that he still has it. What can he do now? Swings around the side here, blocks him out, but no, can't make the edit. They're waiting for him. He goes, it's risky, and down he falls. Josh, he's going to be happy about that one. Look at this. They're pushing 10+ eliminations now.
They might be the only full trio left in this game as well. Scissor, Magma, Joshies making sure to take advantage of the timing being right and cleaning up a few more eliminations. Inside of the top 3 we go. Inside of the top 2, 3v1. It's Donnie by himself on the high ground. They have ample opportunity with dropping him down. 3v1 situation. Donnie gets one. Siphon just in the nick of time. He's staying alive, trying to draw more. Another down. Donnie, can he do it? Yes, he can. Donnie just did it. He made the biggest clutch in history.
Donnie sends himself through Game 4 to the Major 1 Finals with a spectacular clutch for his trio there. And you can tell that it really meant everything. And Siphon was going to be the decision factor there to keep him in the game, keep his health ticking. And then that second knock came through. Oh my gosh, Jacob, it just doesn't get better than that. Take a look at it one more time.
Yeah, raise your hand if you thought Donnie was done. And if I look out right now, if we were in person, I better see every single hand raised. In this situation, it's tough. It's tough in a 2v2, but this is the first one right there. Nobody else pushed him, which allowed Donnie to get the Siphon, and that shot right there, the one pump, that was the difference maker. He didn't even need to peek out for the 3rd elimination because the Storm did the job for him. Welcome to the Major 1 Finals, Donnie, Mason, and Chance. That was one big game with so much to break down. There's only 3 people I trust. Zeke, Kelly, Vivid. Take it away.
Donnie? What in the world was that 1v3 clutch? Donnie? Calm down, bro. Oh my gosh, there's no world where that should have gone the way that it did. And Donnie, calm, cool, collected, clutches up in those final few moments. And just think too, we had 2 games left to go. Okay, this is a situation in which Donnie just goes, hey, do you guys want to go to Major 1 Finals? Yeah, sure. Hold on. Let me 1v3 this trio that is dominating the lobby real quick. Oh yeah, we'll just find our seats on the bus. Why not?
I mean, the story for this trio is crazy. Donnie, Mason, Chance literally formed up right before the play-ins. They get the 3rd seed out of Group 1, and so everyone kind of put them on a pedestal. But before that game, they were sitting around 15th place in placements. It didn't look like they were going to make their way through consistency. So to be able to steal height as a solo player and then 1v3 Vivid, I can't believe it.
Wow, Donnie, what a moment. Starting out 2025 over here on NAC with a bang. Played it to perfection as well. Found himself 2 isolated 1v1s and then boxed up, knowing that the third player was likely going down to the storm soon anyway because they had that siphon ticking. I mean, that was played to perfection. That's a highlight for the ages. Congratulations to Donnie.
You're a goat, Donnie. What else could we say? That was an unbelievable performance. Just to, again, be in that situation, no builds, no nothing, and you just go 1, 2, 3, victory royale. You will be finding yourselves in the Major 1 finals alongside your trio. Unbelievable stuff. With that being said, though, we are going to go to a short break. When we return, we'll break down more of the action we just saw from game number 4. See you soon. Welcome back, Fortnite fam. I know we just went to a break. I'm still just so shocked and stunned by this last game, game number 4. If you missed it, Donnie just pulled off one of the craziest clutches I think I've ever seen in Fortnite ever. We just wanted to just highlight this moment once again from Donnie. He just took his trio to the FNCS Major Finals with this performance. I mean, this is just crazy, Kelly.
This is why Siphon needed to be back, okay? I mean, all props to Donnie. He played that so well. But I am so glad that Siphon is back.
I mean, yeah, literally just created a moment right there. I would love to be in like both of their calls right there, right? Seeing both perspectives from like Donnie's teammates hyping him up while he's pulling that, and then on the other side of things, the trio that just lost that. I mean, you could only imagine how devastating that must be. But I mean, what a moment already to happen here.
Just insane. We only have a single game left to go on the day. We need a victory out or to end the day in the top 5. Let's take a look at our standings, see how things are going. With only a single game left to go, the pressure is on. We don't want to take it to last chance. We want to try and qualify for the Major 1 Finals right here, right now. After that last game, Donnie, Mason, Chance in second place pulled off that crazy clutch, and now they have earned themselves a spot. But now as we start to kind of take a look at this, what you would call top 5, right? 5th down through 9th as it stands right now, Clicks, Batman, Booga, Iamzo have just been putting on a clinic, and they're currently tied with Visuals, Braids, and Aminished, which is like actually insane. You know, we've been watching Iamzo with these solo clutches now for 4 games, or really like, you know, it's just Iamzo doing Iamzo things by himself. It's crazy that it feels like, you know, every FNCS, there's always like a trio or a duo in this case that's like, just had like power, and now it's just Iamzo. You give him the medallion and he's just unstoppable.
Yeah, and we really got to see kind of a more traditional play style from Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Iamzo in this game. You can see that they didn't have any issues with Storm Surge here. They had a lot of early eliminations, and a bit of that was kind of a double-edged sword. We saw them chase really early on, far into the Storm, and part of me wonders if maybe they were using up a little bit too much material, using up some of their extra heals there. But obviously they're able to recover from that, make it into the end game, but unfortunately still not able to clutch up that victory royale.
Yeah, a big change in pace here from this trio, right? I mean, I talked about it multiple times. Going into like 7th, 8th zone, they were typically getting like their first elimination there. But as you can see right now, 8th zone, they had 10 eliminations, working on number 11 right there. So they were definitely going into this game with the intention of getting a little bit more aggressive, maybe filling out the lobby, feeling confident they had already qualified for the finals. Maybe they decided to have a little bit more fun with things, or just try a different, you know, play style, one that they also know that they can play, but maybe they felt they need a little bit more practice on it and wanted to try it out that game.
I think that's fair, considering like in the future we will likely see Peterbot in these lobbies, right, in Major 1 Finals. So when you've got Peterbot running around and eliminating the lobby, you got to think, okay, maybe Iamzo is that answer, right? Maybe Iamzo is the guy to at least put him on tilt just enough that you can kind of make something happen. But again, we'll have to see. I appreciate that we at least get to see the gameplay, right? Like, yeah, they could have got a VR and that would be it. We wouldn't get to see Iamzo doing what Iamzo does. So in some ways, I'm thankful we got to see this. I also want to highlight here Aminished, Braids, and Visuals as well. Just these guys being tied, these guys holding height as much as they have. It has just been an unbelievable day of Fortnite, but I'm getting word. We're jumping right back into the action. Game number 5. We need a VR or end in top 5 for the last time of the day. Jacob PR, MDF, take it away.
For the last time today in Group 1, we have a chance for somebody to try to make history. It may not be as exciting as that last game, but who knows? FNCS and Fortnite continues to surprise me.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You don't know how the games are going to end, especially now. We get to celebrate Siphon in the mix there, really making for exciting moments. What we expect as well as a community. So it couldn't be better for Major 1 to have a definitive Game 4 moment like that. But again, Game 5 is here. I'm looking at the standings, and I'm thinking you are going to need a win, and hopefully someone else can take one and push you up. So let's see it for game number 5.
As we traverse through this final game of the day, the final game of Group 1, there is about a 45-point lead from that last and final spot through consistency. So if you're any of those teams that you find yourself maybe 50, 60, 70 points out, you have to go for a win in both standards to get the points and to get that spot in finals.
Yeah, the only other case scenario is that a team inside, basically the 5th through 10th seeded spot right now, wins, and then that gap really does change, and it will make a nail-biter 10th spot open up. So We will see, but first, you have to survive the drop. Demon's Dojo's been a tough drop spot throughout the day for other teams here. The Beast Champion and Dracet being one of the first to fall every single game here. This time, though, they have to drop on higher. They are going to have the lead. The shots come in from Aiden and Hound. Can they get the trades here? This is the worst we've seen them, and this is arguably the worst time for them to have such a tough spot.
Yeah, starting this game with 172 points. They're essentially in that 4th place spot out of 5 that go through inconsistency, and a huge turnaround in this game plan because it's typically them on top, them asserting their dominance, and now they have to play from the back foot. That full trio just taking full control, and you see them immediately trying to take down Medallion. That might be their golden opportunity, the distraction that they need to get their teammate back.
That's the thing. No one is safe right now, especially if you're someone like Aiden, Hound, and higher who are only, you know, in the 9th spot. Very contentious drop off there. Let's see it though. Aiden and Hound are just gonna look to live to see another day here as they're back off. Beast, Recept, and Champ will have options. They can spitefully sit on that card if they want to and make it all the more harder. Meanwhile, it's a quick highlight what's going on for Cease Blake and Jack here. Jack comes through, wins it all in the end for his teammates here. He will be able to save Blake and Cease. Very nicely done. They've continued to perform well. We saw them in that last end game, so a finals seat might just be up on the menu here.
They're not too far off, 121. About
Very
50
close.
points out from the start of this game, and you got to give Jack his flowers. When it comes to those off-spawn fights, Monster, more times than not, he's been coming up clutch, but the fights will continue around the map. Twinkle Terrace, that's our location. A switch up from Colazzo and his trio, leaving it to the last and final game to try to make a play, and already you can see one player down on the enemy team, but he is by himself as a solo.
Yeah, Pine, Vertex, and Colazzo have had a very difficult tournament run so far. Colazzo, though, looking to fully commit into the box, but no, couldn't take down Baloney there. And back to the lobby he stands himself. So last chance qualifier will be his only opportunity now. We'll see for when that chance comes. But here, I mean, this .exe trio gets to live to see another day. We'll see what happens.
Yep. You can see them kind of going outwards, those water sprites. Could use those to try to get a lot of heals. And depending if there's a shrine, which I thought I saw one nearby, they could replenish it. Back in full force. Reed, Bryce, and Vert trying to go ahead and use this last game to try to avoid the last chance qualifier. Team, we talked about the experience, so they know the experience only means so much going through lobbies just like that as they're trying to claim space. Even with the player down, they know Eddie's gone on the other side, so it's a straight 2v2.
Crazy, this team's gotten into all types of fights here at the Magic Mosses. I mean, they were set out for a tough day either way, whether it's Demon's Dojo or switching it up here for Magic Mosses. Eddie, Lix, and Nick there have had a very, very hard time finding their footing here for this Group 1 stage. Vert, Reed, and Bryce, I mean, unfortunately, really for them falling last game, they could have used those points there to really make this last one closer, but it's going to come down to the wire for them. They're going to need a pop-off and a full top 3 endgame likely in order to make a top 5 spot.
So many teams are kind of stuck in that very, very similar situation. It's essentially turned into like a mini reboot round win, and you're in for a lot of these teams further down on that leaderboard, but still an opportunity I hope to take advantage of. From one fight to the next, though, only a short breath of fresh air for that team. As you see 2 more trios close in the distance, but they end up interacting with each other. Clicks, Yamzo, Batman Booga. That's Tyler, that's Curve, and Shadow on the other side. Full box fight about to break out.
And I told you, these 5 games go by so fast. I can't believe we're at the end of the road here. Iamzo, Clicks, and Batman Booga looking to collapse in on Tyler and Curve. Shadow gets punished by a 3rd party on the outskirts, and their team has to double back here to back them up. It's not looking good. Iamzo cuts off Curve, finds the tag there, really starts to set himself up for success here, but unfortunately couldn't get the full finish, and now he's turning back on the gas pedal here. Fully face checking this trio, no respect given to Shadow, Curve, and Tyler.
They're so healthy right now. They know they can take a shot, so they can continue to kind of pin their heads up against these walls to try to break their way in. Tyler's just trying to converge, get out while he can, but he gets knocked, caught off guard. His two teammates are ready to try to disengage on out. The Yamso is going to be that turnaround player in this fight from where it started on the low ground to being able to get that elimination on the high ground, but more and more teams crash in this location.
I can't believe Reet is here as well. Like, are we seeing like early instances, early strategy of what Yamso, Clix, and Batman Booga plan to do in finals? Will they actually push Flooded Frogs and go for an early clash, right? Up against the team Peterbot that should be landing here. This is crazy. I do feel like we're watching a lot of their strategies come out a little early here. Reet and crew have to recognize that they are going against one of the most dangerous teams in this lobby right now. There's no way they don't know.
Yeah, what makes them all the more dangerous is what they have nothing to lose. If they go down here, they're still in the Major 1 finals, so they can continue to play as aggressive as they want. Reet going for an alternate angle, but doesn't find what he sees. He has the only shotgun, only 2 shots, as opposed to the Sentinel pump. Even Bryce is running out of ammo with his pump shotgun.
Look at him trying to wait it out there, but yeah, the disengage comes out. They end up giving it up here. Yamso pushing in instead of disengaging with Batman Booga. Bryce has got these players on his tail here. Reet caught up by himself, but no, the Oni mask comes through. It does seem like they buy themselves a little bit of a window, but the relentless pursuit now from Clix, Yamso, and Batman Booga is definitely one that's going to need to be studied for a second.
Yeah, and back in my mind, I was thinking, hey, they can continue to chase him because disengage is almost like a sign of weakness. But then I just got a little glimpse of the materials and how much resources they actually have. And it does look like both of these teams might need to farm up just a little bit before they take another fight.
Well, Reet, Bryce, and Vert need this way more than obviously Clix and Yamso, Batman Booga do, given that they have all the points that they need. This is a much more fair team for them to take on here on the outside. Let's jump on over to the other side, though. Schizo and Magma, team that like, seemingly came out of nowhere. They had 10+ eliminations last game, running things up in the low ground, finishing up towards that top 3.
And this
all around. Like, go ahead.
Almost every single year, there's one team out of nowhere. They might not be the most known. A lot of people might not necessarily give them the most respect, but they come in the FNCS. They take these opportunities as they come, and there's somebody that you really got to start to watch out for. And we've seen it before. You know, even Batman Booga is one of those players coming from West, and now he's on one of the best teams in the region.
Undoubtedly. Meanwhile, Ducky stacks Cube here, fishing up the loadout, trying to get things situated. This is in the midst of the Mass Meadows. You can see where definitely there are other teams sitting around and no. Vert gets taken out here. Oh, they end up clashing with Eddie in the trio there. Probably didn't realize that they were just next to them. And this is a very desperate situation for Reet to be in now. I mean, where do you think this goes here?
But you see what he did right there. He activated the Sprine. What that does is kind of let you know where every sprite is in a nearby vicinity. So he activates it, goes straight for a water sprite, trying to get the HP heal so that way they can last longer in the zone. It's realistically their only play because having shields will only take you so far if the zone continues to pull towards the south.
You know, we know Reet's got a med kit to work with as well. But yeah, they're just gonna have to wait this one out. Take a look at the replay, the highlight here, Larson, 20, and Walkers. This is a team I expected to be much higher in overall points, but they've kind of struggled to find themselves into a win condition. Meanwhile, Aiden and Hound holding on to their 9th spot ever so barely here. Oh, look at the light material count as well. Just trying to put themselves outside of the reboot van here, but there's a team up on the mountain. Likely looking down here, yep. Seeing the curses turn. They've gotten full on visuals here.
Essentially 7th place on the consistency leaderboard, 12th place overall. This is where it gets tough. Because even if he does have the reboot card, Monster, the zone is pulling over in this direction. So it's not going to be easy to get it in zone. And then looking around as a solo, as of now, even though his teammate's still alive, people will notice that, especially Death Cells and Encrypted. They're on the mountain just above him. So if they see him as a solo going for a reboot, the potential for them to push is high.
Yeah, look at this. He ends up backing off there. He didn't even try to stick the reboot. Shots are coming in. He's thinking he might get dived on. And that's the thing with Oni Mask being into play. The moment you do decide to fully commit, you could get jumped down so fast. That's what's going through Reed's mind there. Or Aiden's mind, sorry.
Okay. From one team that's trying to get a reboot to another team that solidified the reboot. With Reap back in the game, along with Vert and Bryce, they're giving themselves a fighting chance. You can see they have a fishing rod. They have 6 splashes, more than enough HP to make it to the zone. It's all about what you're going to do when you get there, because you got to imagine going down this early in the game, every other team being proactive for Storm Surge. That might be the weak link in your game plan so far.
Yeah, off in the distance. They go. Meanwhile, on battle here at the Warriors watch. What is going on right now? As we got a trio just sitting this one out here. You have Teram down below, looking to make a move right now, and it does seem like the team that was sitting around is backed off. At the brutal boxcars though, Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo keeping on the pressure here. Reinitiating the fight onto Shadow, Tyler, Curve.
Now with the zone pulling towards the east and the south, almost guarantees a parallel rotation walking through. As they're trying to focus out Clicks right now. He's on a different layer. This is a good opportunity for them, especially since they are in zone, not taking too much damage. Right now, Yamzo is taking a little bit of that storm damage, little by little. Clicks as well, but that's just all for the angles. The sacrifice that they're willing to make, so hopefully this is all worth it.
Yamzo is crazy for that. He saw an opening and he almost went for it. Oni Mask comes out here. Yep, I was going to say Curve's got to get out of there. It's going to be too late. They're looking to cut them off, and this does just look to be like practice at play here. More than anything else. Clicks, Yamzo, Batman, Booga don't need it, but they're putting on a show right now. Yamzo gets punished. Oh no, Clicks gets punished as well. Wait a second. They're gonna have to stop and really heal now, really dig one into the trenches here. Shadow 1X going up for the high ground. He's got the wall, he knows where they're at. He sees the visual splash effects, but take this shot to try to probably get out here.
Yeah, repositions with his team. Throws the orb, hopefully trying to get an additional angle. With the zone being this close, as of now, it's not too bad, but you can see it starting to move in, which is going to put all of these players on a timer. And I do believe they're going to continue to try to rotate next to each other. Not because they want to, because there's no other options.
Yeah, look at this. Being even conservative with the chug splashes now. So they're probably going to be looking to use this water sprite here. Yep, they have a couple of them. It's the little things that end up taking you further and further.
Haven't seen this one play a huge role so far in today's games, but we know in the right hands with the right moment, having that Wanderer's Medallion could definitely be a game changer, especially since it has been uncontested. You get the extra loot, the medallion. This looks like another team just trying to warp up there and steal it for a second.
I was gonna say, wait, someone shot from the other side and definitely got the last hit there. Luckily, it doesn't really affect anything here.
Interesting decision to use the Typhoon Blades over Oni Mask, but sometimes that's just a luck of the draw. Sometimes I've even seen teams with a Void Mask, a Kinetic Blade, and a Typhoon Blade. Sometimes you just got to use what you can, but they're still on the hunt for more eliminations. They find a whole player separated from the rest of his team, quickly scrape that one up, get that elimination with ease. Just trying to pad stats, essentially, at this point.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much Kinetic Blade in action right now. Typhoon definitely is going to be the favorite amongst the stars. Sees Blake and Jack have been in their drop this entire time, by the way. They're just now starting to get out.
But Jack winning those off-spawn fights and getting Surge early on, it kind of allows them to. Really all depends on the zone, where it pulls, kind of forcing them out of that spot sooner than later than we would hope. Especially since right now, if they continue to move towards the south, they would go to a hopeful slow side of the zone. They have a launch pad on the mountain. They have a lot of options to try to get towards the zone, even if it is going to be so far away.
Back to fishing here. This is the best way for you to kind of, you know, recover from a bad situation. As long as you got an Oni mask and a fishing rod, you are more or less safe. Ooh, team fully positioned up in the storm tower in the distance. Meanwhile, Clix, Batman, Boogie, Yams are still fighting teams. No! Who is this? Champo, but I see Reet's name there in the distance too. What is going on right now? Beast is here. A lot of teams in this kind of general area right now. Seaport City becoming a hot spot. As Batman, Boogie, Yamza, and Clix are kind of starting up the action here once again.
You see them even claiming space in front of their opponents, doing whatever they can to cut them off. And I feel like this is kind of the vibe of their season. They set an FNCS point record already, the #1 spot. I think it was like 1350 or something like that. And now they're really just trying to assert their dominance. I feel like this is, right now for Clix, Yamzo, and Batman Booga, this is a group right now, even possibly the rest of the season, a chance to really prove what they're actually worth.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure we were hanging out in the call watching the games live when they dropped that record. Oh, and this is not looking good for them right now, but Curve is gonna get traded this time. They're inside of his builds though, so Clix's team does have the advantage here. Maybe up to him to play defensively now. They go for the double pickup. Water Sprite's down. Another team jumps down. Tyler, Shadow, Reet, Bryce, Vert getting in the mix here. Champo is trying to jump in as well and put his shots down. This is just a messy, messy fight.
Especially with more and more teams coming in, it's just going to get exponentially harder, especially with the zone moving towards the south. Eventually, they're all going to have to try to disengage and get out. Shadow and Tyler lost Curve, so it's not going to be as easy for them. They're going to have to toy with the idea to get the reboot on back, but they're going to have to wait for these teams to disengage and start to make their way out of this spot in order to have that be a possibility. 1400 damage for Clix, Yamzo, and Batman Booga. We know rotation is going to be the first thing on their mind.
Yeah, it looks like Bryce, Vert, and Reet were the first to move here. Caught on the... I don't know about Bush right now. I actually don't even see where Reet's at. They're moving past Toronto's team. Yeah, a lot. Look at how many players have to rotate right now. Look at this. They're taking a nice scenic break here to fish up a couple more items for the road. There's Reet as we catch a glimpse just off in the distance, pairing up with his trio. None of them are safe, by the way.
Damn. This is just tough right now for Hound and Aiden, because with how good of a day they've had so far, now is not the time to go down outside of the bubble. 500 below the threshold. Active surge. It's all stacking up against them right now, one in front of another. But you can see it's being his loadout. You can see it all visually in his loadout. Not a singular weapon. All heals, mobility. It's all he could really do here in order to stay alive, being 500 below the threshold.
What are we watching right now? Aiden,
I've only seen this one time.
Hasn't earned any points, and he has completely shifted the strategy around right now and said, you know what? I'm going to wait this Storm Surge out. I'm going to get to healing here. And he's got Shieldfish to go, but that's not going to keep him up. Oh my gosh, almost a misplay there, taking the Shieldfish over the flopper. But he lands himself on some old loot, doesn't find any extra heals to work with, finds extra... Is that a kinetic blade or... No.
He has both. Yeah, he has both.
Yeah,
kinetic blade, Typhoon blade.
He picked up there. Well, at least he's got some firepower to work with here.
A Furious Assault Rifle is all he really has.
Gosh.
Hey, if two teams start fighting out there, he could probably try to focus them and use that to try to get his surge. And the biggest blessing for him is it's going to deactivate for now, but he knows in the back of his mind, once it turns right back on, he has to start being proactive.
This is the power of the kinetic blade right here. You sleep on it all you want.
No.
Being able to dash across is definitely huge. Meanwhile, Clix is down. Batman Booga is down. Yamzo left to fend for himself here. A fight gone sour in the storm there. Meanwhile, Aiden's still on the move right now, letting his kinetic blade just recharge up, trying to get his dashes going. Not the best, but still very, very useful.
That's not necessarily only bad for Clix and his trio. If you were one of those teams further down on the leaderboard hoping that one of those top 5 teams qualified, which would open up and turn another spot, that's one team that is in shambles right now. Kissing that opportunity goodbye is Magma Scissor. Second place, almost there. Unfortunately, it was Donnie's 1v3, but they're finding these opportunities not only to get eliminations, but to stay above the damage threshold. And you can see where they're at right now. They desperately need it.
They're doing very well, though. They have a lot of points here, keeping it all the more closer for any team, just trying to hold on for consistency. Skizor, Magma with 1 HP right now from the Storm Surge. Skizzo's got a mini, by the way. He's not even giving it to his teammate. He's like, nah, bruh. Oh, there it is.
you're one shot anyway.
Yeah.
It's not gonna help. Oh, he's out of builds. He can't even hold on to the top cover.
Oh, no.
He has to really rely on his teammate and the timing to try to stay alive there. 40 above, Shadows 40 below.
Shadow's not looking good. Shadow's down. It's up to Tyler. No points earned for this team either. Wait, there's a lot of teams that haven't earned points in this game, and look at how late into the round we are right now. I mean, anything can still happen. Meanwhile, Magma, Josh, and Skizzer technically have an opportunity now to jump up past those trios.
I think it was about a 30-ish point lead for Curve, Tyler, and Shadow going into this game, so they gotta hope, they gotta watch. And right now, up until that point, it was mainly just elimination points going across the board. Now is where the placements are gonna start to tick in, most of them being inside of the top 8 and even more inside of the top 5.
Let's see it. Magma falls there. He barely had anything work, but Skizzer's by himself. He's on the run here, just trying to stay alive and earn any placement point possible, but he's getting completely focused out. Into box he goes. This could be a chance, but no. He gets sent back to the lobby, frozen in time. 215 points or so is going to be locked in. Meanwhile, Bryce, reinvert the dream, is still alive here. This is where all the points start to add up, and they're already at 5 eliminations.
I think you said it in the last game as well. They needed about 50-ish, 60 points, almost the win with eliminations there on top. They started 45 points down. They need to start to pick up the pace here. With this end game going down, you know those eliminations and the opportunities will naturally present themselves. They just got to take advantage of those key opportunities.
Well, 3 more points earned with every team that falls now. Things are going to start racking up really quickly here. They just need a top 5, a couple more eliminations, but hold up. Full-on fight breaks out. Bryce cuts to the other side here, taking a side angle. They got the knock. The finish comes through. It's onto Team Diminished. A very much close competitor of theirs on the standings there, but no, they lose Reet in the mix here. Can they pick him up for the save? No, the finish comes through. Visuals is going to secure the elimination. Back and forth, Bryce and Bert are having to go here.
Visuals is already inside of the bubble. Bryce and Bert are not. They have to disengage, continue moving forward. They got what loot that they can. Bert's trying to go ahead and solidify some sort of a position, but there's another player on the other wall that he forces to try to disengage on out. And this is the key for Bert and Bryce right now. Stay away from that ultimate low ground. That's where a lot of the chaos and destruction happens.
Hey, Vert's one of the best when it comes down to these endgame positions. We've seen him perform very exceptionally as a solo in a duo setting. We expect all the more. Toronto also just trying to hold on to dear life for his team. This is a great game for them as well, as they are putting 8 eliminations up on the board here, but it's going to come down to which one of these bubble teams can make the top 5, maybe even top 3, and force out someone else from the standing here. Blake is still alive in this game. This is our high ground team, Polis Power, and listen, right now playing for the win. They need this desperately here if they want to get themselves into the finals. Major 1 is really shaking up here for Group 1 now.
I can't believe it's only the first day of groups with so much more action to go next weekend, but this is the final game with Blake, Jack, and Cease trying to control as much space as they can down below. They have the materials to do so. It's just this spot right here off the side of the mountain where they're all forced to crouch down, but they use it to find an opportunity on the Jing. Just damage, no knock. They have to continue to look for more.
It's just getting more and more intense right now. Power, listen, Polis continue to maintain the high ground. They're starting to dash across here. Low ground looking all the more contested. Everyone fighting for their tournament standing. Jack is gonna fall there. Cease and Blake have to clutch this one out. Meanwhile, Encrypted, Death, and Sales keeping their tournament alive. Eyeing up Blake, tracking Cease through the walls. This is the benefit of having these wooden walls here, makes it so easy to track through, but Encrypted has to move quickly here. Out of material he goes, the knock comes through the scan, gives him a little bit of extra info. Meanwhile, Cease and Blake are still in this one here as well. 175. It is going to be so close for teams trying to pull in the top 10. It is really coming out to the wire now.
trying to go for a little cheeky flank, and I think it works against him. Now taking so much damage. His own flank on the Vert. Vert does not get knocked, so that full team is down. Death and Sales, they go down as well. Encrypted trying to stay alive, but it ends up in this tough situation. C's trying to put the team on his back. There's only a few teams in front of him, and they all need the victory royale. On the high ground.
Look at this. Look at the high ground here. Listen, Cease on the low ground. Second, last alive. It's a solo here. He's going toe to toe now. 3v1 Cease. We've already seen a clutch today. Can Cease come through? It's going to be so close, but in the end, it looks like Power, Polis, and Listen take the victory royale. Jacob, what a game.
That was a big game. We saw a lot of our top teams, ones that are towards the top of the leaderboard, having big and risky fights down early, and it really cost them a lot of their positioning in the game, and that's where a team like this sees high ground open, they take it, and they solidify a big win.
And you get to watch it back one more time from up above here. The shots, the highlights really starting to add up right now. And an excellent, excellent performance for Listen FN, who seemingly has risen out of nowhere. Conversations now are starting to focus in on this team. Congratulations to Power, Polis, and Listen. They will be securing match number 5 of the Group 1 for Major 1. Jacob, what do you think?
I think this is going to come down to nobody finishes even in the leaderboard, because we saw so many teams that were inside and outside of that bubble fighting for that last chance, trying to claw together whatever eliminations we can. But that's going to do it from myself and Monster Deepface, day 1 of groups, but we're going to throw to our analysts to close out the rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Jacob PR and Monster Deepface. Great cast on the day. I hate this part. This is where we're done. We're getting ready to say goodbye. We'll touch on a few things before we go, but man, Fortnite is crazy, and there's so many insane items in Chapter 6 that just make this unbelievable. Shout outs to all the trios that competed today. My gosh, what a way to end, though. You know, my heart, I wanted Cease to win so bad. Cease, Blake, go straight through. Like, that's what I wanted. But at the end of the day, Power, Listen, and Polis, they said, no. I know you guys are the old guard, but we're going to go ahead and take away this victory royale. This is big for the trio, right? Because now they're going straight through to finals. They don't have to worry or even think about that last chance. They're set.
Yeah, and they played this just so straightforward, holding high ground from a later zone, being able to just take down anyone that tried to jump up and thwart them. But I love to see these newer trios. None of these players have ever actually made it into an FNCS finals. So very excited to kind of have an opportunity to highlight some of these newer trios to bring themselves to the forefront of competitive Fortnite.
Listen, I mean, Power. Wow, what an incredible clutch from this trio right there. They had 48 points coming into that last and final game. You know, one thing that we kind of talked about with those victory royales is when a team wins one, right, their drop spot kind of opens up. But one thing that we didn't talk about all day was the fact that you can win a game all the way until the very end, and they just proved it and clutched up and got their final spot.
So wild. That's what makes these kind of games crazy, right? You never really know how it's going to end until that last victory royale. And in some ways, you kind of want Bryce to win, right? If Bryce and Vert get that victory royale, then we're looking at the top of the standings and going down. With this, you know, this last VR, that means that top may not change. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. First, we did want to remind you guys who has walked with the victory royales on the day. So we have a cool little graphic lined up to kind of break down everyone who won of the 5 games. Here at the top in game number 1, it was in fact Seek, G Monster, and Sid. Then we had Kicks, Level 1 Crook, and Tottenham, Zeus, Creon, Tony. Donnie had the craziest clutch I think we've ever seen. He also posted his reaction on Twitter. So if you guys have time, go check it out. It's wild. Mason and Chance there in game number 4. And finally, Power, Listen, and Polis round us out. Overall, what do you guys think about the victory royales on the day?
It was awesome. I loved it. And especially, obviously, that 1v3 clutch was just the absolute highlight. It is a great way to bring back the FNCS to the new year, the new chapter.
I mean, 5 games usually isn't enough to kind of give you all of the ways to sort of win a game, right? But I mean, we had, teams that were able to hold high ground throughout all the moving zones. We had teams that were able to take high ground during some of the moving zones. And then, of course, we had that clutch victory royale as well from Donnie. So definitely an action-packed day. Group 1 delivered.
That's right. Now let's take a look at our top 5 who made it through consistency. Remember, it wasn't just the victory royales that sent us through. It's making in the top 5. Also in consistency. I wanted to see Cease and Blake get that victory royale to punch the ticket, but guess what? They didn't even need to do that, baby. They're top 5.
Wow.
Let's go, Cease and Blake and Jack. Let's go. And at the top, Visual, Braids, and Diminish. We also saw them really ruling the high ground in many of these lobbies. I mean, these guys really showed us what a kind of finals lobby could look like.
That is insane. This is why you can never give up. Even in the final moments, the final game, it looks like you might be down. It looks like you might be too low to be able to get enough points to be able to qualify. But Cease, Jack, and Blake prove everyone wrong. And to just look at the names that we have here, these are a lot of the big names that everyone was giving credit to. Obviously, we have to take another quick look at Cease, Blake, and Jack. But I do want to give credit to Visuals, Braids, and Diminished. They played so well, having a 5th average placement throughout all the games. Their worst game was 11th place, but then after that first game, they were consistently in the top 5. And then, of course, Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Iamzo. We knew from the start of the game that they were going to be performing well. So glad to see that they are going to be rounding out the day in that 2nd place through consistency.
I mean, what a crazy clutch, though, from Cease being left as a solo. I mean, they weren't even really close to securing that top 5 consistency spot, like at all. It all came down to how many eliminations Cease actually picked up here in the very end as a solo. Pretty much carried them 100% of the way into that top spot because the team just right behind them was 195. So the point differential right there was just 10 points. Any of those eliminations weren't found and getting them bumped up in the 2nd place for Cease there, and they don't make it to finals. So what a clutch.
Unbelievable stuff, man. Again, that's why we'll keep saying this, right? You never know what happens until that last moment of the game, right? Again, shout out to Cease, shout out to Jack and Blake. We'll see you guys in the finals. But yeah, as we kind of start to look at maybe who missed out as we flip on over this page, 205 was that cutoff. We see 195 points going over. So it was a 10-point differential. And there's even a few names here, right? Like Reet, Bryce, and Vert, they were super close. And had they just made just a few different decisions along the way, or maybe just different situations, they could have potentially made that. Really, like 25 points isn't that crazy. But they'll have to take it to the last chance qualifier there, right? Like, that's going to be its own different beast.
Yeah, you know that they got to be kicking themselves right now. They just did not have the game that they were hoping to, and we saw it during the play-ins too, that Reet, Bryce, and Vert just weren't in the play. They weren't locked in. I'm feeling rough though. It says Peterbot on the screen, but Asian Jeff just missing out on qualifying. What an absolute shame.
Yeah, I mean, also, listen, 20 Walkers, Larson, another, couple of names there that we're used to seeing in some of these finals as well. They're not going to be finding themselves in the finals. So already, I mean, we could pick out some teams, right? Even Aiden, Hound, and Higher, who were playing pretty well throughout the early parts of the day. They didn't make it either. So already there's so many teams that are going into that last chance qualifier just out of group number 1. And we still got 2 more Group C. This is getting crazy.
It's wild, but that's what's exciting, right? Is now we get to look at these other groups and go, okay, what have you guys been doing? You've watched Group 1. How do you answer? What do your strategies look like, right? It's super exciting. What are you guys maybe looking forward to in the future next weekend when we come back for more action from the FNCS? Is there anything that maybe you're hoping to see more of, less of? What are your thoughts?
I want to see more 1v3s.
I think next week I'm definitely looking forward to see Peterbot and Co. in action, right? Hot off of the Global Championships, ditching out Home Pollo. FNCS for him is going to be kicking off next weekend, so I'm excited to see what he brings to the table.
That's right. And again, no worries if your favorite trio didn't make it into the top 5 or get a VR this weekend. There is still the last chance qualifier. There is still hope left in the FNCS of major number 1. With that being said, we are pretty much wrapped up for today. We're back next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, for groups 2 and 3. That's a whole bunch of new trios coming in on each of those days. victory royales in the top 5 will see us through to the Major 1 finals. Fortnite fam, thank you so much for hanging out with us and doing this with us. We super appreciate y'all. And again, shout out to all the trios for competing and putting on some crazy stuff. Again, Donnie, I'm looking at you. Thank you guys so much. We love you. And as always, keep yourself safe. And we'll see you on that battle bus.
Beep, beep.
Beep.
Fortnite.